Hey everybody, sorry for the delay. So we had a little bit more people in here and then a bunch bailed. Sorry about that. Just ordered some food and person arriving is lost or late or eating my food or who knows what. Yay. Anyway, I'll probably have to just jump out for a sec to go pick it up if they ever make it here. Anyway, how's everybody doing? First, hi y'all. What's up, Vasquez, Lee? What's up, people? How's everybody doing? Anything new and exciting going on? I've got to set up my music. Where is it? So many tabs open, it's terrible. I have different windows with many tabs. It's ridiculous. All right. Nick, what's up? How you doing? I hope it's entertaining for everybody. It's been a while since I think you've seen me work in ZBrush, Nick, but hopefully you're so accustomed to it. Hopefully it's not boring for you. That's what I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm just arranging a few things here off on the other monitor. There we go. All right. Glad to hear you're doing well, man. Vasquez, not allowed to go outside. Something about being a threat to humanity. Not entertaining enough. Juggle. Yeah, I know. What's not entertaining is that my Postmates guy is just off, like, my house is here, and he's, like, down here somewhere. The restaurant was up here, so he, like, passes my place to go drive around here. He's probably eating my food or spitting in it or something. I don't know. Like, what the hell, man? I should have been eating by now. Instead, he's just sort of, like, driving into, like, random spots. It's pissing me off. Postmates, I swear, I'm never going to use them again. I've had, like, one other weird experience with them in the past, but I still got my food, and this time this guy's just, like... Oh my god, it makes me so angry. It's like, what are they doing? They're just eating your food, I guess, right? What else are they doing? It's so ridiculous. Can't rely on them. Anyway, alright. I'm probably gonna have to order something else from another vendor because these guys are not even doing their freaking job. So I was thinking about this whole structure from last time, and I'm just like, it looks too much like it's like a rocket than it should be. Like more like dust, I guess, is what it should look like. So I think I'm gonna be manipulating this to look a little bit more like falling, cascading pillars of dust more than a rocket takeoff. But this is still a good basis for what I want to shoot for. So we'll see how long my Wacom Cintiq here holds up before it starts acting insane and frustrates me like last time. Exactly. It's not Postmates' fault that my guy has to sell drugs on the street. Yeah, he's just like, he's over here. He's like off screen. It's so upsetting. I wonder if this is like a tactic. Like, they just take so long that you cancel the order and then they get your food, but you get your money back. So then, I guess that's how that works. Or do they not even get that? You do not get your money back? Do you just have to get like credit with Postmates or some BS? Ugh, I hate it when this is so unreliable. It's disgusting. I'm trying to think of a way to do. Or I should do it with a stroke. I kind of want to have like smaller patches of you know, like if you have like chunky kind of sandy dust where it's you got like chunks and then it's sort of I guess I could just do it with a stroke and then maybe with inflate. Kind of like a little descending meteor shower is kind of what I want to go for, more than just this voluminous kind of look. My undo's not working. Cool. Yeesh. It's not looking pretty. It could be kind of a happy accident, but it doesn't look right. Interesting, the inflate is doing that. It's just like really jumbled. Come on, why is undo not working? These things. Just gonna check my settings quick on my keys. Yeah, undo is there. Let's redo. Let's try this again. No, it's not communicating. What the hell? Difficulties. Alright, let's try the Sculptris Pro again. Wow. Yeah, this guy's just effing around. I think he's on the 405 now. Wow, what a dick. Okay. Man, I'm pissed. Is there a way to like report people for being dicks on Postmates? Wow, yeah, he's going up the 405. He's going up north. Wow. What a POS. Alright, sorry, I'm just gonna... Can't you like report these people? It's just disgusting. Ridiculous, man. Gross. All right. Sorry, guys. Anyway. What's up? How do you say your name? Is it Fleffling? Fleffling? Alright, so what does Fleffling mean? Where did that come from? Welcome, new folks. I see the numbers are growing a little bit. That's weird. Inflate acts weird with Sculptress Pro. It's like not working here. At least it's not looking nice. I'm not sure if that's a glitch or is that how it normally operates. It's just weird. Or maybe it's just the underlying topology, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. So everything's triangulated there. What about over here? What if it acts more predictably with quad? No, it still looks weird too. Huh. Is that normal behavior? Should I reset ZBrush? I wonder. Because I had this like open for a while, for like days, and I put my computer to sleep and opened it up again and just left this here for like the last couple of days. Just whatever, 2 days. I don't know, is that normal? It's weird. Self-intersections, yeah. It's just like inflating upon itself, and it's, I guess that's how it would work. I don't know, but it seems like not predictable. It's not what I want to do. Because then standard works better, but I gotta change the, I wonder if I should, I don't want to put it on a stroke. I guess just gotta change the flow. Ugh, now I'm starving and that jerk has my food. Ugh. I hate criminals. Now this is looking like melting ice cream. Damn it. Looks like a bug to me. Yeah, I wonder. Have you tried yelling? Program, do my bidding. Yeah, I'll try that next time. Magic. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's a glitch. I'm gonna just do a quick save and restart it here. And then screw Postmates and do Uber Eats, I guess? I don't know. It's like, who do you trust? Yo's got shady people working for these companies. You don't know who they hire, and they clearly don't filter them very well. Alright, start this over. Jerks. Come on. Oh, did it do that again? It did that again, didn't it? Mother. My computer's been opening up ZBrush off screen now because I changed orientation of my screens, and so now it's opening it up where this screen used to be, which is to the right of my main screen, which is up here. You can't see it. And now it's to the left of it because it makes more sense, and now it opens up ZBrush off screen, which is wonderful. So the way to fix that, right, is like move and then, yeah. Alright, so at least I figured out how to fix it as soon as it happens, but dude, that's annoying. So weird. I wonder if it has something to do with the Z startup. I wonder if that might fix it, because it feels like everything else is opening up correctly, but this is the only program that's opening off screen. I wonder if that's something in the Z startup. Does it take into account window monitor orientation? I wonder. Let's try this again. Just let's save this as is. We'll see what happens. Okay. Is this the right one? Do I have to open it up from elsewhere? Oh, dang it. No, that's not it. Alright. Quick save. There it is. Oh, okay. Not a bug. Works the same on my end also, Daniel. Eat a Snickers. Eat a Snickers, yeah, exactly. If I had any, I would. I don't. I need to eat my food that I paid for. Some asshole stole. So nice. I mean, maybe that's the key to survival now in the coronavirus. If you can't afford food, you just work for Postmates. You work for them, and you just steal other people's orders. That's how people are surviving now. Nice. Classy. Very professional. Whatever, I hope he enjoys the food. As he chokes on the highway. I'm evil. Okay, so what am I doing here? I want smooth strong. We're doing brushes. Smooth strong. There we go. I wish they would just include smooth strong and smooth in the same gradation of power in your Z intensity. Just make it go up to 250 or something, right? Or just have the gradation be, you know, the transition just be more dramatic. So that's just smooth, not smooth strong or regular smooth, when so often you want to have strong smooth. One button toggle, but yeah, exactly, like just a switch or something that would change it. Yeah. Alternate brush mode, be smooth strong. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, right, because when you have smooth on, I mean, but you're already hitting shift, but yeah, if you hit alt, it doesn't do anything, does it? Never even thought about that, really. Like, I always just hit shift for smooth, and I'm like, does shift alt do anything? No, I don't think so. Seems like it just operates the same, right? I guess. If you hold shift and let go, you get an alternate there too with that, with smooth. It's a different way of smoothing, but yeah, weird. Okay, so it looks way too much like a rocket ship right now. Just smooth a lot of this out, kind of get back just to a conical shape and then rework it from there, because this is just, it's not really working. Do the opposite, just use smooth stronger and turn down the intensity. Yeah, that's true, that's a good point. I should just do that instead of regular smooth. Yeah. Except by default, when you start ZBrush and you're in any brush and you hold shift, it's regular smooth, right? I'm not sure. Is there a way with maybe Z Startup where it will save smooth stronger as your primary smoothing brush? I haven't tried that either. I wonder if that would work. No, that's a big brain thinking. Actually, I'm listening to Paul Oakenfold again. His new one for this week. Episode 506. If anybody else is interested in listening along, I'm at the 19-minute mark on that right now. Like a little after 19. If you guys like electronic music, you know, it's always a mix. Some stuff you won't like, some stuff I don't care for in there, but there's always some good stuff usually. There's always some good tunes. So he'll have, you know, different DJs from around the world that he collaborates with or that he has on his label. And it's pretty good. Might be like maybe a couple weeks where I'm just like not really feeling much, hearing the same older ones that are good, but maybe nothing new. And then a couple weeks later, there's like a new tune that comes out, and I'm like, oh my god, what is that? And then I go buy it on iTunes or it's like it's interesting. I use Spotify. Some people use Spotify like intensely, and that's all they do. I still like to own like the files or a hard copy of my music or my movies or all that. I don't like just having things for streaming, you know, or just on a server. Like I really like having my own copy of everything if I really like something. So I'll use like Spotify. Like if some friend comes over and they just, you know, they want a certain mood, they want some jazz, whatever. I've got some playlists saved that are just nice, you know, nice jazz tunes or classical or whatever. And even then, I still buy a lot of the music I love in every genre, so I have everything of all genres. But certain times you just want to have something that's like the radio, except it's just the kind of music you like, and so then that's where I use Spotify. But for when it's a band or a group or something I really enjoy, that's sort of my go-to for something, I just have it on my iTunes still, and then or I buy the CD actually and rip it if I really love something, especially like soundtracks. I'll buy the CD, and then if I'm lucky to, like, because of LA, like prior to all this COVID insanity, you know, be lucky to attend a show maybe where they're performing, or if you get to know them somehow, then you can actually get them to sign it, which is always cool. You know, just something, little things like that. I love about LA how just they come around. Yeah, so many people from all over the best of the world comes through LA, or they did anyway, and you know. It was cool to actually get some of my most beloved soundtracks signed by a few composers that I really liked. Or do like, I should say, not past tense. So it's like one of the perks of living in LA is that the world did come through here. And so you'd be lucky to keep up with the people you admire, and you can wind up meeting them. Shaking their hand, thanking them for all they've contributed to your life creatively. Maybe even working with them if you're savvy. It's like it's a whole new time for networking now, though, right? It's a whole new time for business and like evolving, but it's also such a weird time. I think it's like any struggle or challenge in life with, especially with economies and like weird paradigm shifts like what's happening now. And so it was a time to innovate, right? Like you can look at it like woe is me and just get all down about it, or just try to live off unemployment or whatever some people are doing, or you can actually like push forward and innovate. You know, I mean, some people are just happy. I have a couple friends from out of state actually who are just like, I'm making more now on unemployment than, you know, that whole cliche, which is what you hear in the news. Like they don't really want to work, or they're getting more now than they were when they were working, which is not great at all, because it's like an incentive to not have a job, which is stupid in my book. But I mean, if you can't get a job, it's different than if you don't want one. But I think that this is a great time to innovate. It's a great time to, but it's like, yeah, network where and how exactly, and it's like finding new footing in some ways. So it's weird. It's definitely weird. I'm also wondering if I should do the whole Snakehook 2, is that what it was? That does the, that with this, yeah. I'm wondering if that would look good, like, dust trailing off from more than just his feet, so they don't look like rocket boosters. But, like, have a little bit more, have a little bit more natural, kind of like if you had dusty feet, if they was kind of trailing off of your it's kind of trailing off. Ah, but it comes out with the normals, right? Maybe I just gotta go regular snake hook. Ah. Good way to find new songs, a band you like, or any way to learn. A band you like sucks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Taking time to learn new tools and design software. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the first and only time in my life that I ever took unemployment was when I was let go from a job that I really didn't like, and that's why I was eventually let go, and I was happy to be let go. It was really almost like I wanted to quit, but I was like begrudgingly sticking around, and then my boss at the time was a jerk, and he knew, and so it was just kind of like, it ended rather bitterly, but I didn't care, and I needed to get out of there. And anyway, it was also my first artistic job, my first actual paid gig as an artist, working with the laminate surface design company, Chioda America. It was great in the beginning, and then it became hell. Anyway, so I used that unemployment time and money and just poured it all into actually focusing on ZBrush. And then out of the 2 courses that I paid for, and a few months of just focusing on that alone, I was offered a job to work with ZBrush workshops, because I saw how fast I picked it up, and also that I still wanted to learn and grow. And so that was like, then I got a job immediately after I invested what I was taking from unemployment and directly investing it into learning new software, which for me was ZBrush, like formally learning in it. And then that turned into a job right there immediately, which was awesome. And then from there, I've just kind of always been able to figure out ways to, and even before then, I was still trying to, like, I was teaching kids art and working in an after school program. And so at least figuring out ways to turn your employment into also funding directly your education for furthering your employability, your skill set and knowledge. And so if you can figure out how to, like, piggyback yourself onto being paid to learn to do what you want to do, and then continually carrying yourself and leveling up, I think that's the smartest way you can possibly make a living, if you're not doing already what you want to do and it's not what you love. So I was lucky to figure that out and go after the opportunities that were available, finding them, looking for them, working hard to find them. So yeah, I totally agree. I think if people want to be smart, it's the whole thing. It's like, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That kind of thing. I was like, I wanted to learn how to fish. I didn't want to hand out. I wanted to level up. And I think a lot of people are just lazy and don't want to do that. But yeah, during times like this where it's like, I can't, if I don't have another gig lined up, or if gigs are just slow, I'm definitely taking time and money to invest in myself and in what I'm doing. But like, yeah, I'm not collecting unemployment or anything. I'm just going on savings and finding other investments and learning about stocks, and and finding other means to find other sources of income, and diversifying your income streams, right? That's important. It's like, a lot of people who aren't wealthy don't think to look into wealth management because they feel like they don't have wealth to invest, but I feel like that's a poor man's mentality. Like, you can invest in small amounts, and you can also figure out, not just in stocks but in other areas of life, investing in yourself is huge, right? And investing in your future, whether it's education, whether it's literal money into something, or buying software, or whatever, buying courses, paying for a few courses, whatever. But investing time and money, energy, right? It's crucial to furthering yourself, bettering yourself. And one of the first things I think a lot of people need to get their brain around is understanding that you can become a millionaire if you really want to work at that. If you want to work at acquiring wealth and knowledge. And then you got to start thinking like a millionaire. Like, stop thinking like someone who's never going to be a millionaire, because then you won't be, for sure, unless you just somehow win the lottery and you're like that 1 in a bazillion person. But it's obviously not a surefire thing to operate that way. Yeah, so I think just having the mindset of, how do I become better at what I want to do and where I want to be in life, and then start working toward that. Take the next logical step. Like, what's the next step? You know, have those end goals in mind, have a dream in mind. If you don't, find your dream, find your passion, figure it out. You know, some of us have that burning behind us since we're younger, and it's just maybe we're almost fighting that. We're resisting our dream, right? Like that's calling us rather than vice versa. And maybe because people are telling you don't chase your dream, or that won't be a career. That's what a lot of people say to artists. You won't make any money. You know, look at people who did. You know, look at people who succeed. Find mentors, find inspiration, and then, you know, bounce off of that. But it's all about, so much of your success in life is based upon your mindset and your desire to succeed or not, your desire to network or not, your desire to connect with people that can further your personal growth and your knowledge and all of that. You know, so much of it's based on you. You know, so a lot of times people want to blame others or the system or whatever, and I think a lot of times some people may be disadvantaged. You know, not the greatest point, but we've seen so many stories too of people who were dirt poor and then made it. You know, through strength of will, through determination, through saying I'm not going to be defeated, I'm going to be a victor, and I'm going to find a way to figure it out. You know. Remember that the true story that the Will Smith movie was based on. I forget his name, the actual man, but you know, he went from living on the street to becoming a really successful Wall Street guy, like pure will. I mean, it's just desire to learn, desire to work hard, and say, hey, look, I like what you have. How can I do that? How can I be like that? How can I get better? You know, and just go after it. You got to be a lion, man, a wolf. It's just like you got to be a go-getter, just aggressive. Choose your predator. There's literally no work in my region outside hard factory labor. Pays more, and we're talking at most for an hour or more. What? Jeez. I have a theory that job websites have ruined salaries. People begin thinking that the number on the website is what you should ask, right? Well, that's there for sure. I think people need to learn what they're worth and also be able to deliver, right? But yeah, there's so much undercutting that goes and just hurts everybody when young or naive people just don't know what to charge, and then I'll do it for free, or I'll do it for exposure, or I'll do it for whatever. Dude, you can't pay your bills with exposure. You can't pay your bills with anything but money. I think there's a difference too. It's like working hard and pursuing wealth is not bad. It's like if you're obsessed with it or you're greedy, that's when it becomes bad. But pursuing wealth, pursuing a means to provide for yourself or for your family, no one, you know, don't let people guilt you because of that, or make you feel guilty in some way because you're focused on that. That's like, to feel guilty about pursuing wealth is, well, you're going to be poor then. I mean, you're going to struggle. It's like you're asking to struggle. You know, it's like, you don't want to struggle? Well, then figure out how not to struggle. It's called hard work. It's called thinking, right? It's called pursuing what you want. Figure it out, you know? But it won't come from a lazy mentality, and it won't come from a defeatist mentality, and it won't come from a woe is me, self-pity mentality, which is what a lot of people fall into. And depression is a real thing. I mean, right now we're seeing apparently more people are dying from suicide than from coronavirus, apparently. Of course, media's not really talking about that, but we know suicide's a real thing, and unfortunately it's a lot of men who really fall prey to that. I think because we're still, it's a natural disposition to be the provider. It's still how it goes, right? So a lot of guys feel guilty they can't provide for themselves or their family or their girlfriend, or, you know, money's a big factor in divorces, and that leads to people parting ways, and that can really crush somebody. You know, there's all these factors, but you know, figuring out ways to not worry about money as much is smart. It's wise. That's not greedy. You know, it's just when you become obsessed with just acquiring money when you don't even, you know, more so than you could ever spend or need. That's when it's like, geez, you know, or it just consumes you, when it just consumes you all the time. So there's a balance that's to be had for sure, and I think that's challenging for anybody. As we see, like, universally, it seems like money and power corrupt after a certain point. Almost no one can resist it, it seems, sadly. So I think there's a certain balancing act, but I think that's different for everybody too. Some people can handle So people can handle wealth and be very decent, responsible people with it, and some people can't. But that's only a factor that they can know. You know, I think again that's where mentoring and coaching and having people who are better than you or superior in different areas that can advise you and that have your best interest in mind can really help. I think that's important. It's just surrounding yourself with people who are better than you, right? You're the sum of the 5 people or whatever you spend the most time with. Super important. You know, being willing to take risks, but like calculated risks, intelligent risks, not highly volatile ones. What are we doing here? I'm getting frustrated because I feel like I'm taking too long in this stuff. I don't know. I was just trying to figure out the form, like if, you know, just to have it look more natural, like almost like a simulation, I guess, kind of. Like if he kicked off, like he jumped, but then that would probably mean, depending where you're standing, there would almost be some strays straight down, but then that wouldn't look as elegant. Yeah, it's a challenging thing to kind of make it look like dust kind of pulling off your feet, but be substantial enough to like hold some weight on this print. So someone asked last time if I design with the print in mind, and here's an example where I'm kind of thinking about weight, and I'm kind of thinking about, you know, what the actual engineering of this will kind of be like. But I'm not too concerned because I feel like anything that's around this volume would just help reinforce the hollow aspect up here, and then the wings coming in contact with the dust clouds at the bottom will also really help reinforce it a bit. And still, I'm gotta fix this wing. Everything's in flux right now. And for those who are just joining or haven't seen this before, the anatomy's not finished. Like, I know there's a lot of issues, imperfections, but I'm kind of just sort of blocking in everything and seeing where we go from there. And this was all taken from, for those who don't know, I should delete this stuff from last time. This is from last stream. I was doing a weird kitty thing to show someone who was asking about how to start in ZBrush. Let's clear this stuff out of cache. Oh god, that's awful. So scary. There's the body. Where's Mufasa? Here, no. Where's Mufasa? No. Here we go. So those clouds were taken from this guy. Work in progress. I'm going to get to him in a little bit, so I'm going to bounce between these two. But I stole some of the clouds I made for this and brought it over here, and I've been messing around with this. So yeah, I think around for West Coast, it's going to be around 7:05 p.m. So in about 20 minutes, I'm going to take a 5-minute break to try and reorder some food so I don't starve to death, and hopefully I don't get a jerk behind the wheel this time. I never had anyone steal my food. I've always heard about that happening with Postmates, and I probably should have known better. I probably should have just not trusted Postmates, but now I'm going to blacklist them. I'm going to blast them on Twitter and be like, dude, I'm deleting your app. You guys suck. I've heard enough horror stories. You guys need to get your ish together, otherwise you're just going to lose more and more money. Which is why I remember, like, I think it was E3 or LA Auto Show or both. I don't know, because there's always... I go to like all these different trade shows because the trade, it's all just a stone's throw away. Postmates was just handing out flyers, like little cards, and it's like $100 free credit for delivery, and it's just like desperate, you know what I mean? Like just canvassing the public with just assaulting you with their stuff, and it kind of got irritating. I took one or two and was like, all right, maybe I'll use them. No, never again. Postmates, you suck. You've lost the customer forever. You guys gotta screen your people better. See, this is the thing. It's like I gotta get this. It's gotta have some sort of like gravity to it. So like when you're motion to that, there's got to be the kind of like the echo of your motion in this. And that's what will help it feel like less like a blast off and more like a, you know, descent of material. Anyway, sorry I'm missing a bunch of chat. Hopefully you guys didn't ask too many questions. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. My 3D remain my hobby. Maybe one day I'll flip something more. Yeah, definitely think about moving. Vasquez is right. I mean, if you're having trouble where you're at, if you're like in middle America or somewhere where there's just not an industry for what we do, get out. You know, I'm not gonna really maybe say move to California, at least not right now, because it's so rough out here too. But definitely look to other hubs where, you know, I don't know. All the major cities though are just, they're all kind of a shit show right now. I mean, I would say Seattle's another big tech, you know, area, or San Francisco, Silicon Valley, but they're all kind of shit right now here too. I mean, it's like, it depends. You know, if you have a good network, again, if you know people that can recommend you for work or send you work, it helps a lot. You know, but again, that's the other thing. Like the other factors I would say is you have to be excellent at what you do, so you can compete with the best out there, so that it's attractive to hire you. You know, like, oh, someone new with a new take on style, and we like what they can do, and it's excellent too. It's like excellence is like the bare entry. You know, bare minimum to start. Unless you got a good friend and they're willing to take a chance on you, or, you know, cut you some slack. Do you a solid favor. Sorry, just going through the chat. Vasquez. Have you looked at sculpted smoke? Does cloud references? Maybe figure out where to go. Yeah, I should try to look up what, because I never really thought about even looking up dust, like clouds sculpted. I don't know if anyone, I'm sure someone has done it, I guess. I just haven't really. I can kind of see it in my head, but it's like trying to get it out is another thing. What's up, Exodus? Missouri, okay. Come to Australia. It's a shit show, but it's not the worst. Australia's definitely been on my list of places to visit for sure for a long time. I was just chatting with a friend who's over there, and it looks like it's great. Looks like it's awesome. It's apparently it's just not. Australia is really kind of locking things down with not letting people come back and forth from the U.S. or from, I guess, a lot of international travel. So that creates a problem for those of us who have our family and the rest of our life here, or who want to be able to go back and forth from Australia or other countries back and forth from there. I don't know, I was even talking with my folks, and we were all just talking about, like, if everything kind of hits the fan here, if you just feel like it's better to move out of the country for whatever reason after a certain point, like, we're not there yet, but if it gets bad enough where it's like, hey, why the hell are we here? When there's a better option, like New Zealand, it's definitely on the map. We were all talking about that, and it's interesting to think about. I've always wanted to visit New Zealand too. I think it looks incredible, beautiful. Yeah. So I'd be very curious about that. Like, I'm not close to that, especially because Weta's there. I'm like, all right, there's a really high caliber place where I have a friend or two at, and I really respect their work, and I'm familiar with them. They're familiar with me a little bit. A few people there, and they gave me the thumbs up for work samples that I've shared with them. So it's like, who knows? Who knows? Maybe in the not too distant future, I might be living in New Zealand for a while, or maybe become a citizen. Who knows? So we'll see. But moving is, you know, I think once you do a big move once, well, it depends how much of a headache it is, but once you do it once, you start building that confidence of like, all right, it's not as scary as I thought it would be, and it can help. Like, it can help you move along in your future. Like, I knew I had to move out of Pennsylvania, dude. I mean, it's a great area, you know, good people, whatever. It's fine. Grew up there. Definitely feels like home in a sense, but I don't know. In some ways, LA, or at least the people I'm surrounded by and interact with in LA, just the movers and shakers and creatives, those are my people, really. I feel like those are the people I connect with. People who are ambitious, who think and dream big, and who act. They don't just talk, they do. I'm somebody who goes, I go for it, right? I go for the throat. Like, I don't mess around. I think people underestimate others, and they think, oh well, because they see it a lot. You know, they see a lot of people who just don't ever. They say things, they talk about dreams or lofty ideas, and then they never do jack, or they just fail miserably. You know, or don't really try. And I'm the opposite. I'm someone who I try not to say too much because yeah, you don't want people holding it over your head. But I'm not afraid of failure because like it's just part of success, right? If you want to achieve something, you've got to have the balls to not be afraid of failure because it's bound to happen to everybody. It's happened to the best of them. And something that'll be encouraging for anyone who's really kind of being trepidatious about, you know, striking out and really kind of going for something bigger and bolder. Listen to or read autobiographies of people who are famous, who are successful. And you'll find a common thread of just how much crap they had to deal with, right? How much pain and struggle they went through to become the living legends that you know. I'm currently listening to oh yeah, I have this set up, I gotta turn that off. I'm currently listening to Steve Martin's autobiography. I love Steve Martin, I love good comedy, and it's not the best, like it's not like the most mind-blowing best autobio that I've been reading lately, but it's a good one. And it's I think I only have like an hour left in it or something, so I'm pretty far along. But yeah, I mean, I just see a lot of common threads. You know, I grew up hearing like an old crooner that some of you may not know. A crooner is, you know, like Frank Sinatra, the Rat Pack, like all these classic singers. For those who aren't familiar with that kind of style of like jazzy blues music. I mean, it's not really jazz. It's not really blues. It's not really jazz. It's like crooning. It's sort of its own thing. I don't know what exactly genre. I guess kind of jazz. You know, like lounge music. But anyway, Andy Williams. Everyone knows Andy Williams' Christmas album, right? That's like a really famous one, and he's like some great Christmas songs. But I grew up hearing his Christmas album, and of course, like all his other like classic songs that are definitely considered oldies. But my parents, you know, I'm almost 40, so my parents are of a different generation too than probably a lot of people who are watching. A lot of them are younger. But I grew up loving some of those songs, you know, along with a lot of the other classic stuff that was popular in the 70s and 60s. And I'm kind of a really old soul for my age because I like a lot of the stuff that my parents listened to. Not that I'm like listening to it on the regular, but it's in my catalog of like knowledge and appreciation and genuine nostalgia. Like I hear certain songs and it's like it really touches my heart because it's what I grew up hearing right in the house. So anyway, Andy Williams has a great autobiography, and that's like there's certain things that I never knew about his life where I'm like, wow, you don't think that certain people who are just so renowned and so respected, and you just know them as the famous whoever, you know, the accomplished whoever, you don't have the context of their full life. And of course, even in their autobiography, a lot of people aren't going to tell you everything. They're not going to tell you all the crow they had to eat and all the shit they went through. But if you hear about a little bit, you can be sure that there's probably more. And it's just the human experience. I think the struggle is real. The joke, the phrase, the struggle is real. It's true. Like, we're not all that different from each other. It's just certain people just have a more resilient, you know, perseverance look at life. Right? They're not going to give up for anything. You know, and they built their skills up so that they're not just hopelessly pursuing a dream that they are not skilled at all, but they acquired the skills they need. They met the people they wanted to learn from. They just didn't take no for an answer. They worked hard. You know, all those factors play into success. But it all starts with how you think. How you operate mentally affects everything else in your life. It's all a chain reaction. You want improvement, you got to think about improving. You want a success, well then how do successful people operate? Right? Read books, listen to audiobooks, whatever. Study the people that are successful. Listen to their stories, because you're going to hear about hardships that you've dealt with and that other people. It's universal. Like, anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling on, but moved to Tennessee from LA. So home studio. So she live here. It's nice. Yeah, Yeah, Nick's a great example. I used to work with Nick. I used to work under Nick. And Nick's a great guy. Not sure about career potential in New Zealand. Why a workshop? Yeah. Yeah, New Zealand has a massive VFX industry. New Zealand is awesome, yep. Pretty beautiful families from the entire country near Missouri. And now it's fine, your situation inspires others. First about your dad, grandparents. My dad was around, but single parenthood is not always easy. Yeah. Bob Dylan, best crew. Yep. Bobby Darin. Yep. Heard a lot of Elvis, Beatles, Bee Gees. Yep. Same. Totally. Yep. I mean, they just don't make that kind of music anymore. I mean, I think maybe the closest thing that we had that was popular for a while were singers like, I guess Michael Bublé is still famous. He's still popular, I guess. Michael Bublé is a more modern crooner. Who else? I just thought of him and then it left my brain. All right, I'm gonna look up some sculpted. It's like, and what I'm trying to do, it's like I can't even think of how to properly word it. Like sculpted falling dust, sculpted crumbling. I don't know. Let me look up some stuff quick. Maybe I'll even just figure out how to do this in Maya and just and do that for the next stream. I mean, like have it ready, but like just simulate stuff crumbling. You know, like just actually simulate that, and then do the point cloud and mesh the point cloud so it's an actual water type mesh, and then just use that as a basis to go off of. I don't know. Actually, what I really need to be looking up, I think that would be good references like destruction, like crumbling destruction from like a building getting destroyed, or because that's the same idea of like chunks falling or like being pushed off or descending with a trail behind them. I mean, that's really all I'm trying to do, and maybe I just need to get more in there and just sort of define some chunks and then draw from that. Maybe that's what I should do. Let me just look up something quick. How to phrase this? Yeah, it's gonna look like mesh destruction clouds, but then it just gives you like these really globulous kind of. It's like so specific and odd what I'm looking for. It's like such an esoteric, like I want crumbling bits, but then how would they be like sculpted? I don't know. Let's just go for like sculpted dust. How does that even? That just sounds like it's gonna give you dumb results. Or it's like some other completely, they're showing like nebulas in the space. I mean, they look great and they kind of have the same feel, but there's no gravity, obviously, so they're just kind of their own influence on themselves, and other nebulas colliding with them. So it's like soft body collusion. It's gaseous collusion. It's not even like earthly bound material matter. Amorphous, yeah. It's like sculpted dust is like the name of so many sculptures. It seems like. What are you guys saying in the chat? There's a band called Somersault. It's like low key Beach Boys. That's cool. Yeah, I love the Beach Boys. They're classic. Like there's their classic songs that were timeless. I feel like they're of an era, but they're forever great music. You just look at reference cloud. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some clouds, but it's like, there's no, again, clouds are defying gravity. Like, I need something that's crumbling. Like, you know what I should look at? The shitty movie that the one of millions of shitty video game adaptations, The Prince of Persia. There was some good crumble. It's exactly probably what I should look up. I'll look up that trailer in 1 second. Let me just get through the rest of the chat. building implosions. Yeah, essentially that's kind of what I'm looking for. But it's like even even that, a lot of times the building just sort of crumbles on itself, and then it's just overwhelmed by the resulting plume of dirt and smoke and dust. It's not what I'm looking for here. Is like stuff being pulled away from, being pushed away, and or descending, trailing from your feet. It's such a very specific look. It's not the same as a, because gravity and mass has a huge difference. Of course, a huge building collapsing on itself won't have the exact same look as, you know, person's feet and air being pushed down. Commonly listen to a lot of Caravan Palace, modern electro swing jazz pop. Huh, well, that's cool. Caravan Palace. There's this great club that I would go to often before all this stuff hit the fan, and it was called Clifton's Cafeteria. And they had a tiki lounge bar at the very top floor, which was like, had a secret entrance. You know, you go through a mirror. It's like a speakeasy kind of entrance. And up there, they'd have a music that sounds kind of like that. It seems like you would define it the same way. It's like electro swing, jazz pop, kind of, mostly like electro swing. Like this DJ would, but it was like he was spinning it there, like mixing it in real time. He would take old tunes and modern beats and blend them together. It was so cool. It was like you have this cool mixture of like modern novelty for the sound you're hearing, and yet a certain ring of nostalgia because you're like, oh, I'm familiar with that tune. That's a classic jazzy crooner tune, but it's put with this new spin of electric beats. And it was like, this is pretty cool stuff. I was like, it was really enjoyable. It was really fun. It was smart. It was this intelligent way of making music, making it unique, taking what's old and making it new. Look at video on YouTube of backhoes digging into dirt. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea, Nick. Backhoes lifted up, always dribbles rubble and falls. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good. Thank you. It's a really good suggestion. I'm gonna do that in 1 second. Also, just installed this program roughly 4 minutes ago. Just want to animate my own models for video VFX. How do you recommend learning this? Just installed. Oh, so you're asking? You just installed? You just installed ZBrush like minutes ago because you want to learn to animate your own models for video VFX. How do you recommend learning this? So if you want to like how to recommend learning ZBrush, well, go to Pixologic's site. So go to pixologic.com. Go to the Z Classroom. Let me take you there quick. I'll show you guys. So you want to go to, let me just type in Z Classroom. So if you want to learn ZBrush, this is one of the fastest ways. And then also there's their YouTube channel. So if you go to Pixologic's YouTube channel and look at their Ask ZBrush videos, those are very specific, direct questions for things that are very common questions. Let's see, is it in their playlists? I always just randomly get the Ask ZBrush videos like through the algorithm of YouTube recommended to me. But I think actually that might be a separate channel then, right? Let's see here. Well, it's connected to the same channel, but how do they separate it? I'm trying to think because all I'm seeing is just a lot. When I click on videos, I'm just seeing a lot of this. Just the streamers. It's just all of us. Playlists. Again, I would think they have individual streamers, but then okay, so there's an Ask ZBrush. Okay, so there's an Ask ZBrush Volume 5 playlist. So they categorize them as like different volumes. All right. So yeah, if you come to, let me bring this over here. If you come to, first, if you go to pixologic.com/zclassroom, right here you get like tons of information on how to learn. So they got courses and they kind of got different tracks for you to follow. See, so you've got your, you can say show all, show featured, beginner. So if you want to start, these are beginner lessons to get you up and running and understanding basic principles, fundamentals directly from Pixologic. So they'll get you off on the right foot. I would also say focus on just understanding the brushes, right? Just bring in a sphere, you know, really fundamental stuff. And start learning how to subdivide, start learning how to use Dynamesh, Z-Remesher. If you want to learn how to, you know, if you want to learn how to animate though, you're going to have to go into a whole different package. This is for modeling and sculpting specifically. You'd have to learn Maya or 3ds Max or Blender. You know, Blender's free. if you want to learn to animate, and that requires learning how to rig, which is something I've been dabbling in now, and I need to get back to hardcore to finish up learning it. Advanced skeleton is something really good to look into, I think, as well. And they'll kind of help you along in that pretty quickly. Then there's their YouTube channel. So like I said, I just came to youtube.com/Pixologic ZBrush, and then their playlists. And then if you come down here, they've got right here the playlist for Ask ZBrush. And so this is their playlist of specific questions that people have asked. How can I make small brush buttons in my custom UI, whatever. Here's a way to set up a Z modeler brush so that it can only affect faces. A lot of direct questions, specific issues, solutions to specific problems or issues that someone might encounter. So I would recommend those two spots, really, to start. You could also, of course, go to like the Gnomon Workshops site and start learning there too, if you wanted to get pretty serious. I mean, you have to pay something for it. It's not free, but it's also excellent training because it's people like myself and others who work in the industry, have worked for years, and are at the top of their game, teaching you how to use ZBrush, Maya, all these different techniques, all these different paths. So there's always that option. What else do we got going on here? I'm going to take a break in a second here just to order some food, and I'll be right back. This is why I keep brands on my mind. Tamishi effects has different effects for toys, could help. Caravan Palace is awesome. Hello, have a good day. Thank you, you too. Flip Normals has some pretty good stuff on things all over the spectrum. Yeah, they do. Yeah, I like Flip Normals. They have some good stuff. I know some of the... I don't know... Morty... Is it Morty? I forget the names. It's Heinrich and Morty? I always hear them say their names really quickly, and they have an accent, so it's a little hard for me to always accurately get it. I haven't seen them written. I actually met one of their girlfriend who used to work at Media Molecule, and she's really cool. She's awesome. But we met at GDC, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend is I think Marty, whatever. One of the two from Flip Normals." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So she's working with them actually. They're all cool, good people. Actually, they all live in Japan now too, which is rad. Yeah, Blender. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna do two things here. I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break, guys, or less. I'm just gonna take care of my food debacle since I'm starving and a jerk stole my food with Postmates, and I'm going to look up some of those references that you guys mentioned as well. Let me get the right holding pattern picture. Let's see here. All right, I think that's the right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll be back in 5 minutes or less. Thanks, guys. See you in a second. All right, back. Just took care of some stuff. Got some food ordered. Gonna try again. Going with Uber Eats this time. I've had way more success with them. Hopefully this is better. In the meantime, I'm gonna get back to this. I'm gonna look up those references that were suggested, and I'm actually gonna do a couple. Let's see here quick. Oakenfold's mix ended, and it went off on some other DJ that I'm not really enjoying. So, Caravan Palace. I feel like I've heard of them before. I'm gonna check them out. There's a 1 hour mix that's being suggested. Oh man, I'm already liking this. Dude. See, this is the kind of stuff that this is the kind of finds that I like. Whoever suggested that, thank you. Was it, I don't even know how to properly say the name, was it? Ainil Susai? Sorry if I'm totally butchering that. Can't read. This is the kind of like, it's I think maybe what some of this music, well, it's whatever applies to everybody, I guess, but like essentially it's why we enjoy music is because there's a certain level of predictability or familiarity with it, right? Why we have like chorus and verses, so your brain kind of knows what to anticipate, and yet it's not exactly sure what it is, but it just knows it's probably going to like it. So then there's that level of like predictability yet not 100% certainty, and that creates novelty, and then that's what our brain kind of gets off on. Dopamine and all those other hits happen in your brain because novelty is something that the human brain kind of craves. But it's not so much so usually that it's not outside of the realm of any familiarity, because then it can become scary, or unpleasurable, whatever. Anyway, so I'm just thinking about that, and it's like, this is interesting. There's an appeal to it. It's like the first song right now, it's okay. I mean, it's not like mind blowing, but I like where it's going, and I understand like this is the. I never really thought about it. I was like, how do you define this? But you were saying it's like jazz, electro, pop, sort of. Yeah, it's fun. Good stuff. Thanks. A long statement on my part. So then, what was the other thing? Backhoe. Looking up a backhoe is a good idea. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, Nick, you got it. Like that's exactly what you could see you know what I was going for. I just need to find a good shot of it, sort of just dropping chunks off of a side of a hillside. I remember also seeing, you know what would be almost perfect was someone took a micro drone, so one of those really tiny little drones, and they were like an expert pilot with it, and they were destroying a building with really tall cranes or backhoes. I forget what exactly, but the guy was flying the drones and doing these amazing, what would have been like CG shots in any other time, but he did these incredibly high speed maneuvers where the backhoe would tear part of a building's side or like a part of that structure, and you'd see all the crumbling, but he would come down with the speed of gravity that things were falling, so you'd almost be speeding up and catching up to particles falling with the building as it was crumbling. It was freaking awesome. Like, I never thought watching a building be destroyed with a backhoe would be so entertaining, but the way that he took the camera angles and just flew around doing like impossible camera shots that you would only could do with a computer or a drone that was incredibly fast and skillfully piloted. It was awesome. I wish I could push it. I think I saved it on Instagram or something, but I saw it like a year ago. So anyway, but yeah, if you guys look that up, it's pretty cool. I wonder if I could find that actually. If we just do like micro drone filming building demo. Maybe, yeah, I think I found it. Let's see here. Maybe my memory is incorrect though of how good it is, but let's see. All right, yeah, now the backhoe's getting some good drops of stuff too. All right. Yeah, I mean it's still kind of like the same dilemma I was having with Mufasa, I guess. It's really like having very defined shapes but kind of stacked on each other. So maybe like a multi insert mesh brush with scatter on it would probably be the way to go with this. And why didn't I think of that sooner? I'm just kind of kicking myself because it feels like a no duh kind of thing, like a total no brainer. Okay, so let's see. I think this is no. Is this it? No, it's just this is an building implosion. Dang it! Amazing aerial filming. Maybe this one. No, it's funny. They're calling these shots amazing aerial footage, and it's just like a drone just doing like a 360 around. It's like, dude, no, that's not impressive at all compared to this other thing this kid did. Oh, where is it? All right, I'm not gonna spend much time on this. Sorry, it's getting boring for you guys to see me looking for something. No, yeah, I'll have to look for it. Maybe I'll show it next time. Anyway, the backhoe's good enough. So yeah, I think that gave me the right idea though. It's funny how it's like you're looking for a solution to a problem, and sometimes all you need to do is just verbalize it, like talk to yourself, but you're talking to someone else about it, and then just hearing yourself ask the questions sort of helps you digest in a different way, and then you get the answer you need. I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's funny how that works. We provide our own solution to our problem when we just stop and really speak it out. All right. Houdini apprentice. Yeah, Houdini's awesome, but there's a pretty hefty learning curve to that, I feel. But I'm a fan of what Houdini can do. I wish it was a little bit. I don't know. I wish there was just. But I understand. It's like I feel like they're probably making it as user friendly as they can because it's such a complex system for systems. Like it's almost like you can do almost anything in Houdini that you can do in a lot of other software, right? It's crazy. It's all nodal based, which is great. So it's non-destructive and lets you really experiment quickly and iterate with systems. And how, from what I can understand, from what I've seen people and friends who are good with it. But it feels like it's something as intense as Maya, like knowing everything of Maya or practically everything of ZBrush. I would say, but even I don't know. I feel like ZBrush is a little bit even more user friendly and straightforward than Houdini when it comes to the learning curve, especially, and just wrapping your brain around everything. Houdini just feels like there's a lot of different controls in it. Sorry, I'm just looking for the right kind of couple shots here to focus on. It's maybe not the best, but this will work. Okay, yeah, I think. All right, so we're gonna have some fun here. It's been a while since I made one of these, but so we're gonna make an insert mesh brush. So anyone who's never done that before, don't criticize me too harshly because I don't do this all the time. So I'll probably be like, oh wait, it's this, that. So I'm gonna do a make mesh. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to create, I guess, a multi-mesh brush. So I want to create a couple rock bits, really quickly. So this will be a good, quick little mini tutorial for anybody who's never done this before. So we can start with just a regular sphere, and then I'm just going to use the clay buildup brush to kind of just carve into here really quick, and just kind of make an odd irregular shape because I want it to be more dust. I don't want it to be cloud-like. So if I want it to be clouds, I think I'd keep it more smooth. And then I'm probably going to transition over to Mufasa in the next like half hour here. So I'm probably going to go a little bit past 8 Western time. So you guys will be in for another 3-ish hour sculpting session for those who like to stick around for that time. And sorry, I'm just checking where my food is. They're preparing the order. Estimated time of arrival is another 20-ish minutes from now. We'll see if that's true, or if I get to be a victim of food theft yet again. Those bastards. They're making me hangry. I actually never get hangry. My sister does. I have a couple other friends who do. I used to have a roommate who got really hangry. So weird. I mean, teach their own, but I'm like, dude, chill. You're going to get your food. It's alright. Just relax. I wasn't hangry. I was just pissed because I don't like being the victim of crimes. I've had it happen a couple times, man. Someone stole my laptop and it was the only machine I had to use for work. So that like, someone stealing your job, essentially. Like, think of it that way, right? It really sucked. And I was super stressed and pissed. And it actually happened to my friend and I. We were visiting Lucasfilm, of all places. So I was lucky to get to go to the first premiere. There was 2 premieres, kind of, for Jurassic World. And so Jurassic World had their first premiere, actually, in San Francisco. And then the next day, I think, they had it here in LA, where they had all the celebrities and whatever. But I got to meet Colin Trevorrow and actually some of his family. And anyway, had a bunch of friends who worked at ILM. And so one of them hooked me up with another friend of theirs, well, mutual friend of ours. And he gave me a tour of ILM, which was great. And so I invited my friend if she wanted to come along. She said yes. So the 2 of us went up to San Francisco and went to the premiere. It was great. It was fun, whatever. And then we went to rush to get to the tour of to get on time to be on the tour, be on time for the tour of ILM. And it's even weird saying tour because it is a tour, but it's like it's so personal because it's like it's a friend showing you around. So then you meet their friends and you get to meet some other really famous artists there, and you get to see some of the crazy stuff they have there, and it was awesome. So we had a great time, but we were a little late. I mean, we almost were late, so we rushed. We were leaving to get there, but we got there on time. But we rushed to park behind the promenade, and the Palace of the Fine Arts, that area specifically. And it's a beautiful area if you've ever been there. If you've ever seen photos, you look up the Palace of the Fine Arts. It has an amazing history, and it's just a beautiful. Like, people were literally getting their wedding photos shot there while we were there. So it's not like a shady looking area, but all of San Francisco is kind of a shit show at this point. So, meaning that crime can happen just about anywhere, which is true for, I mean, a lot of places. But you would think in a nice environment that it's just not as likely. You hope, you expect it not to be. Of course, I had someone try to break into my house when I was 15, and we lived in the middle of like really nice suburbia. So that's a whole other crazy story. Had to go to court for it and everything. I think I've told it to a few of you before, but different story. But anyway, so I've had some pretty traumatic stuff happen to me in my life from a young age. But just did not expect them to break into her car. She had a nice BMW, like, decent looking car. It was new. But, there's other really nice cars and more expensive cars in that parking lot. But anyway, somebody was watching us or watching people park. And like idiots, because we were so trusted in the environment and we were so short for time, we both left our laptops in their cases or backpacks on the floor of the car. And mine was in the front seat on the floor, which I know you should never do. We always put them in the trunks. But this one time we were just like, let's just go. It'll be fine. Let's just go. We're late. We didn't think anything of it because we just saw how beautiful everything was, and it seemed so clean and safe. And we come back after the tour. We're kind of elated. Just had such a good time. Got to see so much movie history. Just stuff that has, the only version of whatever. So many different movie props, and just met so many cool artists. And then, to our horror, we're walking up to the car, and she sees it first before I do, actually. And she's like, oh, no. And I'm like, what? And she's like, no, 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 no. And then we walk up, and there's just glass all over the street, or the parking lot. And they smashed both of her windows out. So, like, passenger side, and then the rear passenger side. And they stole both of our bags. And then the crazy story goes that... So I'm going to do some polish here. Some high polish to kind of sharpen up some of these areas a little bit more, get a little bit more jaggy. So then from there, we're both pretty pissed. I'm more so than her in the sense that, we're both pissed, of course, because we both lost our computers. Hers was newer than mine too, which is even worse. But, it's not like it wasn't as much of the end of the world for her because her job doesn't require her to use a computer to work. It just was part of work, of course. What she used. She does coaching and training and whatnot, but she does a lot of that. She could do a lot of that without that specific computer. She could just get another one, no problem. And, you know, she was doing well for herself, so it wasn't like a big financial strain on her. I had just moved here, I don't know, maybe it was like a year before that, I think, or a year and a half before that. I think it was about a year after. Yeah, it was like 2015. I moved here in 2014. Anyway, so I was kind of hard up for cash. Like, I wasn't exactly Scrooge McDucking it, as I'm not now, but I mean, I'm in a much better position now than I was then. And you know, I was just paying my dues. You know, I left a decent job, a good job, and a townhouse, and I downgraded to live in an apartment, and put all my furniture, like, sold a bunch of stuff, took out all my furniture from my house and put it in my old room in my parents' house, and just really downgraded, just like stripped my life down to be like, all right, let's put my money where my mouth is, and just get serious and move 3,000 miles across the country. Just had some good networking done with a couple friends, one of them from Pixologic, actually, who used to have this apartment that I'm living in now. And anyway, so I just took a huge leap of faith and knew what I could do, but also knew I had to, like, rebuild a life, right? Start from scratch, kind of, and just sort of put everything back together. Anyway, so losing the primary machine that I had to work on to make a living, to eat, to pay bills with, that really was like a kick in the nuts. I mean, it was just like, you know, mother effers. I really want to kill these guys. It would just pissed me off. I mean, it's like taking your livelihood away from you. It's shitty as it gets. But so the next part of the story was, of course, we called the cops, reported it. They're just like, yeah, it happens all the time. There's a lot of drug seekers out here, just guys trying to do whatever they can for money, just to get high, just to sell them for whatever. And so, luckily, I had thought to turn on my Find My Mac app on the computer and on my phone, because it was a Mac at the time. Now I'm all PC. But Windows has a similar solution for their things too, which is great. Anyway, sorry, I'm whittling this thing away to no end. All right, so this is good enough. What I'm going to do now is duplicate this, hide the other one, and make this one different. So we're going to make a couple variants of this, probably 2 or 3. And then that'll be our multi-mesh, insert multi-mesh brush. Sorry, I'm trying to recall what I wanted to say while I was doing that. So call the cops. They aren't really much help. I mean, they're nice enough, but they're just like, not much we can do. Sorry, you know. But they said, here are the numbers, follow along. And so I tracked it for a while, and she and I drove around after we freaking, you know, cleaned up all the glass, and like had an acquaintance of ours who we just met recently at the Palace of the Fine Arts there, which is a separate building and a whole other, you know, thing. This guy, Marty Murfin, I think is his name. He's a really great guy. He was a nice guy. He was kind of a techie there who was doing some stuff at a makerspace, and he was nice enough to come out, because we had met him earlier, and he was just like, oh yeah, well, you know, if you need some stuff, here's, or did we meet him after? I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to remember if we met him before or after the incident, but anyway, either way, he was nice enough to help with, like, bringing out some trash bags and duct tape, and just helped us, like, cover up the gaping holes in her car for a while, so we could, you know, figure out what to do next, and just drive around without that loud fluttering sound, you know, you get when you're driving the highway at high speeds with an open window. So, dejected, pissed off, really irritated after we kind of tried. It was stupid of me, I guess, in some ways, because I mean, like, I'm going after trouble. It's like I was actually like chasing down where it was sort of showing up, and it was in areas that were like high stacks, like apartment building complexes and stuff. So you just couldn't find out where it was, and kind of walked around a little bit, and then just was like, screw this is getting dangerous and stupid. But I was just so pissed. So from there we come back to LA, like I said, feeling defeated and just lost, you know, and I get a ping on my phone then, like 2 weeks later, that it was showing up and that someone had turned it on, right? But it was password locked, luckily. So, you know, they were like, what is this? It wasn't password locked, I think, at that time, but once they opened it, then I was able to lock it, and they, so then they couldn't access it, they couldn't do anything. I could even delete the hard drive too. I could tell it to wipe itself if I really wanted to. But of course, the morons didn't realize, like, how much the software was worth and all that. So anyway, I call the cops and tell them, like, look, this is what's going on. I was just really candid with them and just was, like, really impassioned with the cop. And turned out he actually grew up in Pennsylvania, like, just not too far from the town I grew up in. So we had that common ground again, which is crazy. because it happened with me when I got to work with ZBrush Workshops. My buddy Will Detry also used to live near me, and that was sort of like a bonding moment between us, at least a bonding point. To be like, oh, well, we have familiarity because where we grew up is very similar, or next door to each other. Anyway, so I had the same kind of immediate connection with the officer. So it kind of created fast friendship a little bit, and just sort of, weird kind of sense of trust and like empathy. And anyway, we got along pretty quick, and I said, dude, this is like my living. Like, I need this for my job. I just moved to LA, blah, 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 blah. Can you just do me a solid and just go to this address and just check, like, just to see if, I understand if it's like in a stack, if it's in a high, like, tall building with many, many floors in it, you can't, it's only top-down location, so GPS, so you can't tell if it's on the 30th floor or on the first floor. You have no idea. You just know it's in this building, in this wing, or this corner, or maybe, if you're lucky. So if it's a tall one, I'm like, don't worry about it. But if it happens to be like a single floor building or 2-floor building, maybe we can have some luck. And he was like, yeah, I'll go check, man. I'll see what I can do. He's like, I'll help you out. It's like, thank you. So he goes, and he's like, give me your number, blah, blah, blah. He goes, the switchboard, whoever, passed me to him first. So then he gave me his number, and so he called me back. And he's like, all right, so I'm at this building, and it's actually a 2-floor building. And then I showed him on the, because I could see on the map, like Google Maps, it shows you like what buildings it's, around. And I saw that it was in a southwest corner, and the building was kind of diagonal to the compass. So in other words, it was like a diamond for the compass, right? So it was like definitely only in 1 or 2 apartments, either the top one or the bottom one. It wasn't like in the middle and ambiguous and like maybe there's another. So it was really easy for the cop to just systematically try the first and then the second. Turned out it was in the first floor, the first apartment he went to, and he said it was just some guy who was a Latin gentleman who purchased it from some other guys who were selling them for like $50. They offered it to him for $50. He's like, do you want to buy a laptop for $50? And he was a MacBook. And the guy was like, nah, but I'll give you $40. And so they sold my Life in Blood for like $40 when the software alone was worth thousands on the machine. Of course, these guys are ignorant. They don't know anything. And, and so the guy was like, yeah, I thought it was a little weird, though, once I opened it. And I found that there was a whole bunch of other person's things on here and files. And I thought that was a little weird. So the cop said, well, so you have stolen property. Can we please have it back? And when they opened the door, they told him, first of all, like, we're here because we got a report that this laptop is here. And so the guy was like, yeah. So he was really helpful, actually, thank God. He just didn't want to get caught for maybe anything else. Who knows? But he was super cooperative. And so then the guy called me back and told me that story. And he's like, so I got your laptop back. We have to do a bunch of paperwork, and then we'll send it to you. And so I got my laptop back after like 2.5 or 2 so weeks of total stress and fret and just freaking out. So sadly, my friend, she did not turn on her Find My Mac app on her phone or her computer, so this was her learning experience to always do that with any device you have if it has that ability. So anyway, that's another victim moment in my life where I was like the victim of a crime, and it really just irritates me, and I'm a huge stickler for like justice and truth and just being an integral person to like a fault. And so it really just it's like true righteous anger, it's like I feel total rage toward people being wronged, whether it's myself or others. If it's legit, it really, 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 really pisses me off. And I'm the kind of person who's exacting and likes to investigate and figure things out. And my friend who was with me for this whole experience, she was just like, you'd make a good cop. You should probably be a detective. Jokingly, of course. I mean, I would never want to do that because I've rode along with cops for basically over the course of a few months. I did like weeks of ride-alongs for research for a story I've been working on and off. And I got to see what it's really like. I mean, I've ridden down the street with them when they had their guns drawn, servicing warrants, doing sting operations, canine unit, regular unit, like all that kind of stuff. It's pretty awesome. But I also saw, because I did that after I worked in the ER for a couple of years, and it just made me realize, like, dude, they just see the negative of everything all the time. And it's just really kind of, I think that's why some police reform is definitely necessary and it'd be good. Because you're exposed to so much negativity. It's just the shit of humanity. And it really kind of skews your brain to be, I mean, in a fair way, I would say. I mean, it's fair and unfair in that you're suspicious of almost everyone you come in contact with, because we as civilians obviously don't really know a lot of times just how many bad people are out there, how many dangerous people are out there, or, also it's easy to break a whole bunch of laws that we don't even realize we're breaking sometimes, like stupid things. But there are a lot of malicious people out there, and you may not even you wouldn't know by looking at them, right? You wouldn't just be able to tell by seeing someone drive or walk down the street. But the way that cops are exposed to so much and experience it so consistently and see predictable patterns, it starts to really jade them, you know. And so I can empathize with them. I can understand, not that it excuses any bad behavior, but I think it really shows that they need to really figure out a better training system for officers, and have more consistent like psychological evaluations. Kind of like you think of Blade Runner, if you've seen the new Blade Runner, and they kind of have this weird test that they ask him all these questions, and his baseline has to be a certain level of emotional response, and if it spikes, then they're like, dude, we gotta recall this guy. That's, I think, kind of how we should operate with cops in some ways, is like they're getting to the point where they're becoming just so angry or frustrated. It's like a weird longer term form of PTSD, I feel, which I kind of feel in another way I've encountered with my time in the ER, because I think seeing people suffer now, if it's done well, really affects me stronger than other people who don't have anything correlated with in their real life of real traumatic injuries and real like dramatic crazy suffering. So PTSD forms in all different kinds of ways, and it shows in different ways in different people. But I think with cops, it can result obviously in a lot of violence. So anyway, that's a long story about, I forget how I even got on there, but how so the whole food thing. So my food being stolen by some jerk right now off of Postmates just really pisses me off, because it's wrong. And, he basically got a free meal out of me and out of the system. And it's just like, I have no problem helping people who need, I've bought homeless people food all the time, I happen to buy them food. I'm not going to just throw money at them, because who knows what they can use it for. But if they're hungry, they're saying, can you buy me a meal? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. What do you want? So yeah, but this whole thing is just like abuse of the system. So anyway, I'm rambling on here, sculpting these weird little pieces. Probably taking too long to do this stuff. I should be moving faster. Sorry. I'm gonna do one more, and then I'll start using this as some basis to create a crumbling dust cloud. And then probably will decimate these two, actually, because this one's like 10,000. I'm sure the others are several tens of thousands of polys, and they don't need to be, because I'm looking to create more kind of smooth-ish elements. I probably should make them a little rougher, I guess. Maybe add some noise to them to give them a little bit more natural, organic kind of feel. That's an easy thing to go back and do on these last pieces. Anyway, sorry, what is in the chat quick? So it was story time with Daniel, right? Vasquez. Don't worry, I know how to make brushes. I'm here. Yeah, hilarious. Apparently, we now have a house opossum. Oh no, I love opossums. Though they're great. Don't kill the opossum. Opossums are like super animals, man. They're like immune to Lyme disease, and they kill all kinds of ticks. They're really, really helpful animals, actually. Opossums are awesome. Awesome possum. All shots and find out where they eat. Made a hole in the floor and is eating the dog food. Wow. Yeah, exactly. They're immune to rabies. Yeah, they're awesome animals. He can feed himself. That's a step up for most pets. Funny. To be honest, possums earn their keep eating all the ticks. Yeah, there you go. You know it. Yeah. So long as he doesn't become much of an issue, he's fine. How do you do that with the Windows machine? Is there an equivalent app? Yeah, I've got to find it. I've got it on my Mobile Studio Pro, which is my new mobile solution now. Instead of a MacBook Pro, I use a Wacom's Mobile Studio Pro. So it's a Cintiq with a computer built into it, and then I just have a Bluetooth keyboard and a stylus, and that's my computer when I'm sitting on the couch or remotely working anywhere. It's a great machine, and there is an app that comes in Windows, I believe, and it's called, or it's maybe you have to. Is it an app, I think, or it's part of it's built in, but I think if you go to Microsoft, let me check here for you quick. If you go to Microsoft's site and you do like a Windows Find My Device, yeah, Find My Device app. Excuse me. Find and lock a lost Windows device. Get My Device. All right, so there's that, but that's step number 2. Step number 1 is get My Device. Detailed information. No, that's not. All right. So yeah, it's Find My Device, Windows 10, free download software. Download.cnet, usually pretty reliable. I like CNET, but it's not a Microsoft Direct. And visit site. Okay, so then that takes you to Find My Device. There we go. So yeah, if you go to the app, if you go to the store, oh, it's currently not available. What? What? What kind of BS is this? Wait, why? All right, wait, let me just check on this because I have it already on my other machine. I did on when I had my companion when I was using what is now just my Cintiq. Find My Device. Okay, yeah, so it's built into Windows 10 now. Cool. That's why it's not available in the store because it's built into your OS. So let me just make sure there's no like personal data. All right. So like this is what you would see. So if you just go into your, if you just go down into your little, you know, search bar here and just type in find. As soon as you type in like FIN, I think it'll bring it up, and that'll bring you here. And now, you know, you have it on. You can deal with location settings, all that stuff. So just type in Find My Device and then just follow the instructions, and that's how you do that for a Windows machine. And then you can just download that app, I believe. Or you can just go to the site because there's no app anymore. I think you just go to a site then. Once you register your machine, you'll have to log into like your Microsoft account online, and then there you can access that through any web browser on a mobile device as well. So if someone steals your laptop, you can use your phone to coordinate where that GPS ping is and see it on your phone, and or vice versa if you have, I think, like a phone that is stolen. I forget how it works, but there's a reverse way to do it too. I think just like Mac has with their iPhones and their MacBooks. So yeah. And Angela is picking up your order. Yes. But it's coming late. That's fine. At least I'm going to get food. So anyway, some helpful tips for the PC crowd. I see you're not in a Mac now. Yes, no more Macs. Mac is not innovating. I mean, Apple, I'm kind of pissed at Apple. They used to be innovating and really pushing things forward, and they're not now. And it's like incrementally better. And I'm like, dude, PC is where it's at. You can just, Windows is stable. It's pretty stable now in general. It's not perfect, but I will sacrifice some instability or some stability for innovation and just being at the forefront of technology, as opposed to Apple, where they'll just give you like, they could probably do like 100 whatever, and instead they're going to do 25 now because it maximizes profit. It's like, oh, we improved it 25%, so now you buy the new version of whatever, and then next year it's another 10% or 5% or 15% or 25%. But it's not like some revolutionary or like, let's just put the throttle, pedal to the metal kind of thing. You can Hackintosh your stuff, but it's just more of a headache. I'm just like, dude, I just want to be able to have something to work well, and be successful with the tools I have. I don't want to have to stress about it or have it be built-in obsolescence. Oh, that reminds me, I have to fill out this thing. You can get on like a $500 million lawsuit if you have had an Apple iPhone 6S or 6 through current version. If you ever owned one of those between whenever it was, I think starting in 2017, you can get on this lawsuit and get some money back from Apple because they've lost in their suit against them for essentially building in obsolescence into their phones. It's been proven that the batteries were sort of designed to, decrease their power systematically. It was proven, I guess. So now they're in a lawsuit for that. And I remember I saw that in my feed, and I have that tab open waiting for me to fill it out. Because I definitely experienced that, and it pissed me off too. Today's just a day of like, what pisses off Daniel? Arr. Anger, negativity. Sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna finish this up in a second. Just want to get through the rest of the chat. Maybe cops should do watch rotations, work week in a bad neighborhood, and do a week in quiet one. Keep them from building up trauma. I mean, I'm sure they've tried some of that. I don't know why that's probably not a more standard practice. It's hard to learn your neighborhoods, yeah. are homeless in our region and have houses, refuse to shower. They play homeless. That's the way to earn money. Yes, people do that. Pros and cons. How much does it affect performance? Yeah. What is the Matrix thing behind you? almost every single time someone asks, it's hilarious. I'll tell you in a sec. How to find you an art station. I'll find my. I don't update my ArtStation a lot, and the last time I did, I'm so inexperienced with ArtStation because I kind of am sick of all these different sites to keep updated that I just put a whole ton of my work, which is pretty current. I mean, it's not the most current right now, but it's pretty close. I just dumped it all into one folder or whatever, instead of like they don't let you mass upload just to have your whole thing populated. So it's all like I have a bunch of original older images and then this one folder with a Raptor running on it, but it has like a ton of other work in there. So you can see a bunch of stuff there, but let me find it for you. I don't even remember what my ArtStation is. I'm just tired of having to update Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and ArtStation. It's like, dude, too many. I really don't tweet much anymore though, so maybe I should start focusing more on ArtStation. Yeah, so I'm looking at my ArtStation right now. If you click on Portfolio 2, it has like a ton of my stuff. It's still older now too, but I think it's actually up to date with what my site shows. I'm working on a bunch of new stuff I can't show or that's not done. But so all that stuff will be updated eventually. But that's my ArtStation for those inquiring minds. Sorry, what else? Mac going in-house, ARM CPU, GPU. So yeah. What is it you're sculpting? I was sculpting pebbles that are going to be essentially the crumbling elements for this piece. Because I've been trying to figure out how to get this to look more like dust and particles kind of falling off of his feet rather than just like a rocket booster. I don't want it to look like Iron Man, which is kind of what it looks like right now. You know, like rocket boosters coming out of his feet. I want it to feel more like dust and particles falling off of him, and that just happens to be coagulated enough in the sculpture that it will be a supporting structure for his feet. But I don't want it to look like what it does look like right now, which is like he's just shooting out rocket power from his feet, and it looks kind of ridiculous. So that's what I'm working on, is elements I'm going to put into a multi-mesh insert multi-mesh brush, whatever. So that's what I'm working on. What project are you working on? How Apple makes their products to fail on purpose. Yeah, exactly. It's disgusting. I really don't appreciate their practices now. I think their business practices are shady. Waiting for 3D print to finish, then I'm going to bed. It was fun watching the demo. See you next time if we can make it. Yep, take care, Nick. Sorry if you're already gone by now. Thanks for showing up. Okay, so what is the Matrix thing behind me? Yeah. The Renaissance project. So, this is a one of 300, I think, posters ever produced. It's a really cool foil lenticular. It says "Free Your Mind" up at the top. Pretty sweet piece. I bought it just as the poster. It was like mint. You know, I was lucky to find it for a good deal on Amazon, on eBay, because these things aren't made at all anymore. Haven't been made since whatever. This came out for Matrix Reloaded, actually, and the majority they have the same code style, but then they have these giant. I think it was like May 5th, whatever it was, 2005. So it was like 5/5/15. I mean 05. Sorry, being ridiculous. So it just has like giant numbers on it. I didn't want that. I wanted the one that says "Free Your Mind." I love that statement. So I found this one. Very few of them out there. They're usually pretty expensive when they go up. But I had the money and I really wanted it. I knew what I was going to do with it. So bought the frame, and then I just bought some LEDs that had the rain effect already in there. Just wired them up behind it. I fixed everything to the back. Plugged it in. You know, I had to do this whole like check of the front back kind of thing because it wasn't really transparent fully on the back. But lined it up with all the code as much as I could, and I'll probably add even more LEDs maybe later. But so then it gets a whole perfect raining code effect. So just being a little creative, ingenuitive with the poster. Sorry, just checking where my food is. Apparently they're still picking it up. All right. So yeah, that's what's up with the Matrix code behind me. Apple's SSDs built on board. I think 2 generations ago they removed the lifeboat port or lightning port, right, on board, so your data will be lost unless you use cloud. Yeah, they're doing this whole thing too with their phones. Like, I'm not going to get the next phone. I'm done with them, I think, at this point. I didn't want to get this one, but then it had this app that you can use for facial animation, Mocap X, and so I'm like, that's why I bought this new phone. I have an 11, but at this point, I am done with them because they want to go completely wireless. And like their AirPods, I believe that their AirPods, I'm pretty sure if you could be a fly on the wall, you would hear in a meeting where they're talking about their AirPods, being like, we could give them a 6-hour battery, but if we don't want to take a hit at all, we want to make profit, we probably got to charge them X, that kind of thing. So they'll incrementally increase the battery life to incentivize you to buy the next one, to sound like, oh my god, now we get 6 hours or 8 hours out of our AirPods instead of the lowly 4 that we had originally, when they could have done that from the very beginning, of course. And I get it. It's just smart. It's just sleazy, smart business and how you advertise it. No one has forcing you to buy it, so it's capitalism as it can be. But those kind of practices, it's not capitalism that's wrong. It's those practices that are dirty, because it's but you're allowed to do it because there's nothing illegal. But it's just really shady and kind of sleazy because you could provide a better product, a better service, but you're deliberately creating it, like lessening its power. You're like deboosting, you're throttling, I get it. It's tactically smart from a business standpoint. You want to maximize profit. People will just eat up your stuff no matter what. You create a system where you kind of lead them along slowly until they finally, you just sort of like pull the string until they finally get to where you want them. And so that's how they've been able to amass so much insane money, is by saying, well, we're not going to give them the absolute best product we possibly can. We'll give them a pretty good one, make it look sexy and appealing, and then just provide what's barely good enough, for what people expect, and then we'll, go from there, and it's just iterate. So next one's slightly better, just a little bit better, but everyone feels like they're just addicted to it, right? They just have to have it. I'm like, dude, guys, stop the addiction. It's not good anymore. It used to be great, but now it's like they're just playing you. They're just lying to you. They're using you, kind of like using your addiction. I mean, their products look great, very clean, minimalistic, beautiful, nicely designed, but you're really, truly now paying for an aesthetic more than for anything as useful as what you could get from a PC alternative, which would be superior in pretty much every way except maybe aesthetics. Although for an artist, I would say there is no alternative except to have a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro. Honestly, there's nothing else that competes with literally having a true Cintiq and a whole built-in laptop without the whole laptop element. It's just, you have a Cintiq, you have a plug if you want it, and you have a Bluetooth keyboard if you want it, but it's like you can just work on screen and that's it. It's awesome. So if you want a mobile solution and you're an artist, screw a MacBook, man. Get a Mobile Studio Pro. If you can't afford the new ones, get an old one. They're going on eBay for like $1,500, slightly older generation, and that's still a decent machine if you're, especially with something like ZBrush, which it works so well on such underpowered machines, and you can do so. I did so much of the work that I did to get to the level I'm at before I even afforded the PC I have now or the new one. I did on this old Wacom Companion 2, a very weak machine, and yet I was able to pay my bills and do professional work on it, and then of course do my portfolio work, and that's what got me into a lot of studios where then they have fine machines to work on. But just leverage what you got, man. Anyway, okay, so we're here. We're done with this guy. It's gonna decimate all of these quick. Just go through here. I'm gonna do what I usually don't do, is decimate all at the same time. That's 15K, 12, 19, 15. All right, so to decimate everything that's here at the same time, decimation master, freeze borders, and pre-compute all. So this is after pre-computing is complete. So all visible subtools. So all subtools are visible. Say pre-compute all. Just ran through all of them. Pretty simple because they're not complex shapes, not a ton of geometry. And now we want to say collectively each one's approximately an average of 13,000 polys. We can reduce that significantly and say you could probably hold these forms with and even if it breaks down, it gets a little jaggy, that's actually to our benefit. It's kind of a happy accident. because we want it to look like crumbling dust and particles. And all right, my food's 2 minutes away. Sweet. Finally, starvation will be averted. Disaster averted. So we're looking at. Let's see what happens if we go to like 6. No, let's go crazy. Let's say like 4,000 points. Decimate all. And goes through all of them. And how are we looking here? Fine. I think we could probably even go further still, because I'm gonna boolean this stuff together anyway. So let's just do this again. Same process, really quick. Pre-process all, and we just do about 30% of what it was before. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty low now. Each one's like 1,000. Yeah, like 1,200, 1,500, 1,800. Yeah, that's fine. All right, cool. All right, so now I've got these guys ready. Let's see where our floor is, because I think it draws it out from there. I gotta turn off that. I got that from when I was working on the shield last time. All right. Where are we going here? It's in, draw, right? Let's draw, and where is the... I forget, how do you turn off all the different... Is it just... Oh, it's just here, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Derp. All right, the snapshot's there, but who cares? Okay, so then... All right, where's... Is it Angela? Angela. She's not too far. All right. She's at a light. Okay, so then we want it to draw out. I think it's like, is it camera based or floor based? I forget, right? When you do the nano mesh, insert mesh, whatever. I think it's floor or camera. I don't remember. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Face it the way you want. In this case, it's arbitrary because it's all gonna be random anyway. And first, you want to do a create insert a multi mesh brush. There we go. There we are. And now, I don't think, Vasquez, do you know, is there a way, I always forget this, because I think, I always wish it was there, and it's not. If there's a way, when you draw out, or scatter a multi-mesh brush, you can't have it cycle through all of them randomly as you're brushing, right? You have to manually change it each time so that you can spray, but you only spray one mesh at a time. You can't be like 6 different meshes, which is what I wish they would do, but I don't think you can do it that way, as fluidly, which is kind of dumb, because in this kind of scenario, it would be perfect to just scatter all those different ones I've created at the same time. Just like, randomly choose between them. And all right, looks like she is here. So I'm going to mute this mic for a second. I'll leave you guys with some pretty imagery instead of the I'll be back text. And I will be back in just uno momento. Alright guys, sorry for the dead time. My food arrived, thank God. Second time was the charm. Just gotta pay her and we're good. Sweet. Oh, happy day. I'm not gonna starve to death. No, I mean it's, you know, you got food in the pantry or whatever, but some days you're just so busy, you don't feel like cooking, you don't feel like making anything, you just want food made for you, and especially when it's stuff you can't easily make at home. Like this is a really elaborate veggie burger. It's like a shroom burger. It's from, of all places, Shake Shack. Not the most, you know, high-end place or anything, but at least it's healthier than just, you know, McDonald's or something nasty, but, you know, it's mushrooms, vegetables. Maybe I got something that's not quite vegan too, I won't say. I'm trying to be as vegetarian as possible, but we're only human at some point. Your temptation can only hold you away from... I can't hold you away from everything. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm tired, I'm hungry. Okay. So, sorry this is kind of taking a while. So yeah, I don't think we can do the scattering of multiple meshes within one brush stroke. Right? I think I'm wrong in that. Yeah, because they can't even turn on... You can't even turn on scatter. Which is... What the heck? I thought you could at least scatter it, even in one mesh, right? See, that shows... I mean, I don't do it very often. I don't have a need to really mess around with, like... I guess you could do an array. I guess that's another way to do it, right? We could do, like, a nano mesh. Or, like, fill in... how does that work? You can use a mask or polygroups to define... where everything is inserted, so you could do like a nanomesh scattering, so to speak. That kind of works, right? Try array mesh. Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I was trying to think of another way to do that. Sorry, eating off camera. Don't want to gross anyone out or be too ASMR. Haven't eaten anything all day, so this is like meal one. Trying to maintain my remnants of a figure, of a male physique amongst the pandemic, which is crippling our gyms, making our memberships useless as they get frozen and then unfrozen and then frozen again. And I hurt my leg, for those who don't know. I hurt my leg badly. Badly, relatively speaking. I didn't break any bones, thank God, but I definitely did some significant damage to my calf muscle. Thankfully, nothing completely disconnected or tore, but I saw a doctor the other day, and he was just like, oops. Okay, yeah, undo's not working on anything. He was just like, yeah, you didn't disconnect anything, but you're just going to have to do what you keep doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just grin and bear it and let yourself heal slowly. So I've got like a compress on my leg right now, and I'm just like icing it and elevating it all the time. It just slows down my whole day, which is really irritating. Thankfully, I have like at least some stuff here I can work out with at home. Got like what they call like a power tower, so you can like pull-ups and presses and all this other stuff, and some dumbbells, and so you know you can do a lot with that. And I'm actually going to be buying a punching bag soon, I think, which I'm going to have installed here. So I can basically just forego the gym at this point, because I'd go to the gym to mostly do weights and do the kickboxing room, and then take some classes now and then for whatever. But since that's all shut down now, and they keep freaking Gavin Newsom keeps yo-yoing us uselessly, just so dumb, I'm thinking just screw it. It's back to working out at home. So while I can afford the gym, it's not available anymore. So it's like super irritating, because normally I'm happy to pay for a gym membership and use it to its full advantage. But now I'm just sitting around getting fat because I'm like, I want to go to the gym, but I'm also busy. And it's like, nah, there's no excuse. I just need to start working out at home like I used to when I couldn't afford the gym. Or at least not the gym I wanted to go to, I'll put it that way. And when it was like I have to go to a really kind of nastier gym, or a gym that's just kind of gross, I'd be like, nah, I'd save my money, just work out at home. But you know, once you experience certain things in life, it really kind of makes it unappealing to go back on that. And you know, if you have the choice, the freedom to choose, why not? And so yeah, Equinox is awesome. It's not cheap. It's kind of crazy expensive in some cities. It's not too cheap here either, but it was still, for me, affordable, and it was worth it for all that I used it for the classes and for the kickboxing room and the spa and all that stuff. It was great. I loved it. Highly recommended if you can get to one whenever they open again. Check them out if you've never gone. They have the Earth Bar built in there. It's pretty sick. It's pretty nice. I like it, or I did like it. Now I'm just annoyed. I feel like it's not their fault, but it's just like, all right, well, you guys get your your stuff together and get your shit together, and when it's ready to roll again, I'll rejoin. But I think for now I'm just gonna tell them, like, dude, just give me my money, take off my credit card, and do not charge me. Okay, so we got a different poly group there. I think that's how we can do this, right? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've even done like nano mesh, because array mesh, I believe, I always get the two kind of mixed together, because array is good for predictable array, right? It doesn't do randomization like nanomesh does. Nanomesh is, because that's what I was using nanomesh for, a more controlled arrayment, arrayment. I don't know what the right word is. Arraying of the feathers on my Trico statue, and that really worked well with polygroups and changing things up. My folks are calling me. I'll have to call them back. So, if I remember correctly, do anything healthy, develop a stomach ulcer, eat small portions throughout the day. Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I had, some water, whatever. It's intermittent fasting is something I've always done now and then, intermittently. But no, I wasn't that active either, so I wasn't like burning a lot of calories. So I just really wasn't that hungry until a few hours ago when I ordered food. So anyone played Death Stranded? Is that what you meant? Is it Death Stranded? You mean Death Stranded? It's too boring. I think I saw it and I was like, nah, it's not a well-made. I wouldn't say it's a technically well-made game, but it seems too boring for me. Now you're getting hungry. I might be misremembering. Camera, IRC, do with multi-brush thing. Yeah. Unplug my computer like a derp. Uh-oh. Which tablet are you using again? Sorry, I asked for this before, but forgot. No worries. What I'm using right now is not available anymore. They don't make it, but it's a Cintiq Companion 2 is the name of it. So the current version that you can probably find. I mean, you can probably still find actually a Companion 2 on eBay. But you would you'd want to look for how do we do this again? I forgot. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. You want to look for like a Mobile Studio Pro. Look for a Mobile Studio Pro, Wacom Mobile Studio Pro. You don't have to get it new because they all operate the same as far as if you want to have a Cintiq basically that's affordable, that's decent resolution, but it's smaller. I mean, it's more like a 15-inch screen or a 14-inch screen kind of. I actually had I was given as payment for work with them. I was given a 27-inch a UX, I think it was, or I forget what the lettering number is, but I was given a decent big Wacom Cintiq a long time ago, and I had to turn around and sell it because it was just too big for my desk. It just took up every space. I mean, a huge amount of my desk, where it would have been like from here to off camera and deep, and it just eats up the whole desk. And I don't know. Some artists love working on a huge screen. I can. I just don't like it that much. I just feel like there's more. You're just doing more effort to do the same thing that normally you naturally do when you sketch on a pad or a piece of paper. How you're normally accustomed to drawing as a regular human being before you ever had technology. I'm more comfortable with that, so I don't mind working on a small screen. Of course, if I have to zoom in, just zoom in. But having a giant screen for me doesn't really do much for me. So I got rid of it. Maybe for better or for worse, I don't know. Slightly less durable, got the job done. Sorry, I'm going back up here, seeing what I missed in the chat. What's for cheap alternatives? Yeah, there are. Even one. Yeah, no, some people don't like Wacom because they're pricey, but I feel like you do get what you pay for, man. I mean, I have a couple like older Cintiqs that I've gone through and they still work. I just upgraded. It's not like they broke down or this one's giving me some weird trouble, unfortunately. But also, I've had this for years and I've used the shit out of it. Like I've used the thing, used it so long for so many projects. It's definitely paid itself off. I'll put it that way. Forgive me. Sorry. All right. Oops. All right, we want to do nanomesh. Come on. Okay. And here we go. So then, yeah, we want to switch to the ZModeler, which it did automatically. And then we come back to this guy. And you can do it by polygroups. I think that's the best way to do it, or the only way to do it, if I'm not mistaken. So then when you select like a point, you can say a point or either a point or a polygon. Let's do points. And we just draw out. And it's just that one. But then we have to hit spacebar and say, let's do polygon, insert mesh nano, and we say all like polygroup island. So it's all the pink, for instance. And whoo, that's a lot. That's a lot. But it creates an interesting effect. See, this is where you want to do like a checkerboarding then, or a of your polygroups, or like a sprinkling of different polygroups, so that you can put different shapes that's not all the same, and it rotates them. But you also get a lot more controls after this. For instance, once you've drawn out a nanomesh, then you can come to your nanomesh menu and do a whole set of other randomizations and tweaks and edits, so that your nanomesh, once it's inserted, can then be iterated on before it becomes actual live geo. Because right now I believe these are still all instances. They're not actually live geo, so to speak. So it's not really calculating, because adding all that right now, it's still only at 260. So if I go back and undo, we're still at 260,000 polys. So it's not real geo yet. It's just instanced. Excuse me. Burpage. So, yeah. So I'm going to, the task here now is to kind of like randomize the polygroups a little bit, to at least create like a handful of different ones. Where's my mouse? Sorry, let me catch up here. Used to watch Equinox, great gym. Rita Del Rey. Used to work, oh yeah, nice, yeah. Yeah, the Earth Bar Equinox. Funny you mention it. Yeah, Earth Bars are great, man. Oh my god, I love their smoothies. I would get the what was it? It's like an I'm trying to remember it now. Shoot. They call it the Flax Master, which sounds horrible. That's such a terrible name. Flax Master. That just sounds like Flatulence Master. I don't know. It's just Flax Master, flaxseed, just what you want. The master of flaxseed. Like, no, thanks. Not good. But it's great. It has acai berry and a whole bunch of other stuff. The only thing I would change was I would add is they have coconut water, and I really don't like coconut water that much. So I'd add almond milk instead. And oh man, the thing was amazing. I would eat that. I could drink that every day. Really, it's an incredible, and it's so healthy too. It's freaking amazing. If you've never gotten that, try it out whenever you have time to go to an Earth Bar. Just get the Flax Master with almond milk instead of coconut water. Random distribution, yeah, random seed, playing around with that, yeah. Oh, that's true, the random seed, yeah. I think it'll move around from where I'm at now. I probably don't have to create, that's right, I don't have to create a ton of polygroups. Yeah, because in this case, I had to create systematic polygroups of like strips, and then checkerboard those so that I have alternating ones, so I could have different types of feathers that looked somewhat randomized on Trico, but that's completely different than this case, where it's like, there is no order to it, it's just, it needs to look organic and natural. Sure UI has an awesome color layout. How do you change that? It's funny, someone else asked the same thing. Gray green looks sweet. Ah, he said green, he didn't say aqua. It's like, I like to say mint. It's not quite green. It's like a aqua green, slightly mint. But yeah, it's green. It's sure it falls in the green category. I'll show you in a sec. I think 22 inches is the largest I would want as a tablet. 16 is perfect. Yeah, 16 is nice, and they have a new one that is actually 16 display exactly. It's not cheap, but it's great. Nice to see you streaming again, ENC. I want to ask you if this model you're working on is A, going to be a full 3D print. Yes, it will be. B, do you retopologize your models before printing or keep them at the highest subdivision possible? I don't really need to I mean, yes and no. I mean, retopologize from a strictly from a just technical standpoint. Yeah, they get retopologized. I decimate them, right? So I crush the numbers down so that they don't need to be like millions of polys. Sometimes I really want to create extremely high resolution detailed models, so I will keep it toward 1,000,000 polys. For instance, like this raptor, though, this is pretty high detail, and even though you might see it as losing detail in ZBrush when you get really close, when you think about the actual physical scale of something compared to my face, and although my face is not any sort of standardized size, it's not freakishly big, it's not freakishly small. So this is about what is this, like 15 inches long, I think. It's a little over a foot long and about 7 inches tall, 7.2 inches tall. But you can see, like, you can get, and I'm sorry, I know the screen is kind of small as it is, but you can get an insane amount of detail from something that's been decimated if you had it at an incredibly high resolution to begin with. And you decimate it to just to the point where you can barely start to see maybe any sort of faceting, of the tessellation. That's kind of where I would draw the line. So it's not so much like an exact hard number. I mean, in general, you don't want to be going to millions upon millions. Depending on your machine, Preform, or Cura, I believe they can handle millions of polygons, but it'll just take a lot more time to slice through it because it has to deal with all those polygons. It has to account for all that data as it goes layer by layer by layer as it predefines the the systematic slicing and then printing of each layer. So you're just asking for a headache in a sense when you bring it a high poly mesh, but fries. But you can I don't eat like this every day. I was just feeling gluttonous. Sorry, it's not healthy, I know. Don't eat fries every day. Sorry. So poly count in general, I mean, back in the day they would say for 3D printing you want to go with like 100,000 or 150,000. That's doing it a lot, because software was weaker then. The printers probably couldn't really. I mean, the printer could do whatever. It's just taking zeros and ones. It's just taking data for alignment of where to execute such operation in XYZ space, or really on a 2D plane is really how it's operating. So on this slice, coordinates up and down and left and right here. But now, but the software was always kind of like the bottleneck, and or your machine as well. Now it feels, from what I've been working with, that it's maybe not the sky's the limit because I've crashed Preform, and it could be though that it's just having. It may not be necessarily that it's a poly count. It could also be simply that it may have trouble interpreting weird polys or some faces that are incorrect. Either flip normals or some holes, or maybe an unused point in space. It's just floating around. Whatever. Different things can cause it to bug out. But all that to say, I feel like poly count is less of an issue now more than ever. And it's best practice to decimate your model, so to reduce its poly count significantly. But that's simply to save time for crunching the data when it has to slice it. It's not that necessarily a 5 million poly object or even higher would necessarily destroy your ability to get it ready for print. It's simply that it's just going to take more time, and then that in time can probably add, I don't know exactly the inner workings of all the software, but I would think that it could eventually just build up if you have multiple objects in the same print and they're all like 5 million, 10 million, 15, 20 million polys. I would think that that's going to eat up a lot of RAM and data, even in just temporary space as it's processing it, and that can cause a crash where it just doesn't have any more RAM to work with because it's been taken up by storing the temporarily in computer logic. It's temporarily holding that so that you can see it all and it can process the file and complete one coalesced package to then deliver to the printer so the printer can then execute. So that's where it can cause a crash if you just have way too many high poly meshes. So it's best practice to decimate. but where that line of how far you should reduce the poly count, it's kind of like go by feel more. It's more intuition and sort of understanding your machine and your software more than just a hard line. If you're like everything's under 100,000 or it's ridiculous, like no, because sometimes 100,000 is not enough to define details that will show up on a print. Depends how big the print is, and also depends what printer you're using, of course. But I'm talking about like a Form 3 or a Form 3L. You can get mind-blowingly micro, like perceptible and almost imperceptible micro detail from those printers now. So when someone says, "Oh, we'll never show up in the print," well, actually, if you're printing at high res, it will. So you can either lose that information, or you can try to amplify it by even maybe pushing your sculpts a bit further in their recession areas, in the areas of cavity, so that when it either cures and there's a little bit of residue of resin that's a thin layer there that will dull the detail, or if you paint it, which a lot of people will or do, if you have fine high resolution detail, you will lose some of that for sure after it's been cured and painted. So to compensate for that loss, add more depth or add more height somewhat to your sculpture. So it might look a little extra height, like a little sharp, a little punchy in the print, or I mean on screen. But in the print, it'll just especially after it's painted, it'll swing. It'll sing. It'll look perfect. So all these things to consider, all these variables to consider, and it's all based upon each unique print. So these are all best practices and generalizations. But it always depends on what you're printing, what you want to get out of your print, what printer you're using. So yeah, there's all these variables you have to consider. So it's like a tree. Once you know this, answer yes, then this way, answer no, then this way, kind of thing. So there's a whole logic tree of question and answers as you go along. So sorry, that's a long-winded answer, but that's the best I can do. Eating food with Daniel and ZBrush. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's get through the chat here. I like to retopple my objects, but it's not required. Printing polypaint with scatter and polygroup. That could be a good way to have more control over the nanomesh origin. And nanomesh has modular by color option. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Flaxmaster is the best. Yeah, he knows. That's hilarious. I wanted to ask if this... Okay, yeah. So anyway, got through that. It makes so much sense. I didn't take real world scale into consideration. That's so cool. So mass produced prints likely have lower poly counts for that exact reason. Yeah, exactly. If you really want to, again, talk about tactical business, you want to be strategic in how you maximize your dollar per second minute value in your corporation. You've got to think how they think, and that's why, on top of many other reasons, that's why a lot of times, like, I'm proud to offer and sell some of my prints to people, because I know for a fact you will never, ever get the detail that I'm producing that I can infinitely print for you. If someone wants to buy something that I produce that I can legally sell, because there's copyright characters I'm not allowed to sell, obviously. But like dinosaurs that are generic, other characters I create that are generic, an animal that's a generic animal, whatever, unless of course I get a license for a copyright character. Otherwise, those prints will have detail that you will never be able to get from a mass-produced item for a couple reasons. A, and this is good marketing for you guys too, if any of you 3D print for a living and would like to say, well, here's a reason why you should consider buying my 3D print master versus a mass-produced object. And I mean, there are some mass-produced objects, I would say, a few that really push it. They really strive to get like a 1-to-1 or as close to a 1-to-1 over the master version of detail. And they do a pretty good job, but that's not the norm. The norm, the general, typical, run-of-the-mill product you'll buy that was 3D sculpted. The first bottleneck for why certain... let me just figure out color in here, pattern. I don't think I'm just gonna go with old-fashioned polygrouping right now, and then see where we go from there. I probably have to decimate this too, because the other problem is we're going to have a concentration of a ton of them in this really high resolution area, and then over here we're going to have like a really bulkier or lesser, and then it's just going to be a headache. So I'm going to decimate this quickly. Okay, so but with like mass production, some of the things that people don't think about, but that is a matter of fact, is your first bottleneck in quality. So we're talking strictly about end result quality. So what the consumer buys versus what the master, meaning that the master is not the person, the master is the original piece that is then molded and cast or replicated infinitely for production or for a limited run, whatever. That's the master. It's the one or several of main, pieces that are mass produced repeatedly. The first bottleneck to quality with all of that is budget and time. Why is this not? Why did I not decimate? What did I do? That's weird. Come on. Preprocessed current. No. I want to go for like 50%. Decimate current. There we go. That's weird. I still kept the concentration there. Let's try. Oh, let me edit this quick, but just doing a little bit of change there. It almost looks good, but I kind of want to. Let's try this again. Okay, so first bottleneck to quality, in my opinion, and from what I understand of the process, so budget, right? So you offer an artist, because I'm speaking from experience too. Company says, we want you to make this awesome dinosaur. And you're like, I'm passionate about this brand. What brand could it be? And I would love to give you just the best version of that dinosaur you will ever have, because I will look at screenshots or the originals, everything possible, and get every single bit of micro detail you could humanly achieve in replicating something that was seen on screen. Only thing is, I want X amount of thousands of dollars for it. And we're not talking like $10,000. I mean, we're under that, but not $1,500 or even $2,000. So between that area, reasonable for the amount of time and effort you're gonna put into it. And even then, that's still kind of cheap, I think. I mean, 10 grand would be nice, but realistically, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the character and everything. But I'm like, dude, people should be charging more. Like if I really wanted to be paid respectably for a character that I really loved, I mean, I'd probably say like like $5 grand, $6 grand. That's decent for the amount of time and effort that's gonna be put into something and passion. That's fair. I mean, that's a lot. It sounds like a lot of money for the work, but it's really not. That's still kind of low, I think. I mean, that's depends, again, who you're working for, what their budget is. But, like, if I had to say, if someone's like, we want you to create the ultimate version of this character or this dinosaur or whatever, I'd be charging a significant penny. It's not, I wouldn't consider that cheap, all right? I also wouldn't consider it, like, the best money ever, but it's decent for what you're doing. It's decent for what it is. But, yeah, you have to think about, okay, that's more than they can afford. Not really. It's more than makes sense because they want to make a lot of profit, obviously. And the more you charge them, even though it's just for one and they're going to make a mass production of that, they budget accordingly. And they can't pay every artist that amount repeatedly for all the other products they're making. Not that they have to, but because, again, sometimes people will be doing the same job as good or worse or better than the other person, but because their negotiation skills suck or they don't know how to evaluate themselves fairly, they'll often undercut themselves or someone else and get paid less because their skills suck. It's not because their work sucks. It's because they kind of suck when it comes to marketing themselves, when it comes to approaching an employer and saying, this is my rate, this is what I expect, and not being like, maybe can you please pay me this? I think I'm this good. You don't come in insecurely, right? You got to come in being like, I know what I'm worth. I know what my work is. I know you're not going to find the same kind of quality amongst everybody. It's rare the people who are actually willing to go in and do the job right, even being willing to do a little free overtime. But it's not really free because that's why you're asking for a hefty paycheck. You're like, I know what I'm worth. I know the commitment I'm going to give you. I know the quality is going to be badass, world class, one of the best in the world. So I'm just asking for what I'm worth, period. You don't say that to them. That's the attitude you have in your head. And then you go to work. Again, every project's different. Every budget's different. But a lot of times for a high resolution character, if you get $5 grand, that's pretty good. If you're getting less, depends on your work quality, right? But again, it depends on everything. So budget's the first and probably the biggest barrier for quality in the end production of a mass-produced product. Then you have outsourcing. All right, so you might produce an amazing sculpture even for a decent price or a less price, but then you send that master out to China or somewhere else, and then they have their people you might send a cohesive print, like a solid print or a multi-part print that's already assembled, and then sometimes I've had this happen in one theater where I worked at. They sent it to China, and they were like, "Oh, we just used it as inspiration, and we created another version of it for you." And I was like, "What?" It happened with the Moses sculpture that I did. Right? It was like the mass production version was horrific. compared to, it looked like a parody of what I made. It really looked like Papa Smurf, kind of. Like, the feet were too big and the head was kind of big, and it was like a caricature of what I made, and it was like almost like they spit in my face. I was so pissed, but I was like, well, at least my name isn't on it, so really, like, you know, they won't think that that's what I made, because when the original was made, it was like, you know, beautiful and everyone loved it, and then that's what got approved, and we packaged it really carefully and sent it over, and they're like, oh no, we use it as guidelines, we recreated it, and we're gonna mold this, and we're just like, oh my, what? Ugh. It was just gutting. It was just like, dude, I spent all this time working on this, and yeah, I mean, I was paid for it, I was salaried, it was fine, I wasn't upset, like, I wasn't being gypped at all. I mean, I was treated very well. It's that the Chinese company they just decided just to do their own thing, and because the budget was what it was, they couldn't afford to, like, have me print another one with them and then ship it over internationally to some other factory and then have them do it right and properly. They're like, oh, let's just go with this for now. So that's how it was. I'm sure they probably fixed it now because everyone was like, this is terrible. But you know, that's one of the things that happens in manufacturing. So then that can be a hiccup in quality, right? You have some other people fudge it up, and it's not your fault. It's just the a-holes who got the work, and they're like, oh yeah, we can do it. You know, they're posers, and then when they actually get the gig, they just screw it up. But then the money's already been spent, everything's there, so it's like it's like what happened to my food today. Like, someone's like, well, there's no way they can go back on this now. They're stuck. So there's no way this guy's gonna get his food. He's not gonna come after me. I'm driving down the 405 doing 80 miles an hour eating his burgers. Jerk. So, like, you know, that happens. So then other barriers, of course, and then after mass production, how is it being produced? You know, if you got the master, they actually mold the master. How good is their molding, right? Are they doing a really good job of being really tight and just filling every crevice and really getting that mold exact? And then is their replication process very good? Are they you know, using good materials that won't degrade easily? That won't be, like, you know, damaged from impact and shipping and other things. And then the paint work, usually because this stuff is painted, right? So then the painting, like I said, that adds a layer, you know, millimeters or micrometers of layers of paint, and depending on how thick it is and what kind of product it is. But that then deteriorates the quality and the fine noise surface detail, right? High frequency detail. So all those factors play into whether something looks great when you've made it versus what you get, which looks like a joke. It looks like someone's almost parodying your work, or if it's going to be a company that has some really good QC quality control the whole way down the pipeline, and or if it's built all in-house somehow, and then it's very limited release because then they're having their own teammates, or they're hiring a really skilled staff to strictly follow certain rules so that everything goes great from molding, casting, painting, finishing, packaging. Like, all that has to line up to maintain a certain level of quality for a product that is 3D printed, to ensure that it has those same parameters repeated continuously. So you can see how incredibly expensive it can get very quickly for a company, and then their profit margins start to become less and less and less. So you start looking at all the different points tactically. How can you reduce the amount of expense you're incurring to produce product X? And then because of that is where you will find they'll start lowballing artists. Oh, we want you to do this for $2,000 or $1,500. Like, dude, do you know how much time this is going to take? I don't have... That's why a lot of things... That's another reason why things become crappy, is because the artists are like, oh yeah, I can do it for $1,500. You're going to get $1,500 quality. Which I feel it's sort of like... It's almost better that they don't. But we all have to pay our bills. We all have to eat. So it's like sometimes you have to accept a lowball price because you need to eat. You need to pay a bill. You need to keep your savings up or whatever. So you have to take it. You have to take an L, right? And just, you were like, don't put my name on it. I don't want to put it in my portfolio. I don't want anyone to know I ever did this. I'm just doing it because I need the money. That happens a lot too. But for products that people care about, I'd almost rather just say no if you're not going to pay me what I'm worth, because I don't want to give you less quality, and I can't afford to work that many hours on something where I need to pay my bills, and you're not paying me what I'm worth, so F off. I'm sorry. But, like, so you got to pay your artist what you're worth. That's like the... If you're going to spend money in any process, that's the one place where you shouldn't jip, right? You should pay your artists what they're worth, of course. Also because they're usually freelance, so, like, they don't have a steady paycheck, so it's like, dude, come on. And then hire the right artist too. If you're not sure you're going to like their quality, then why are you working with them, or why are you talking to them? Like, come on. So that's a management issue too. It's like people who know what the hell they're doing versus people who are just kind of like moonlighting as an art director, or or they're just mediocre at what they do, plain and simple, and it was nepotism that got them the job. because some friend of theirs, their dad or their brother or their cousin or their wife or whoever is just doing them a solid and hiring them to do this job, or they think that they've worked their way up the ladder in this position, but they just didn't. They were just like a cheap option and they don't know it. It's like the world is brutal out there. I mean, I'm just being honest. But there's so many factors that contribute to just products being less than exceptional, and it's a lot of it's money. Most of it's money in the end. It usually comes down to just budget and time, all that fun stuff. So anyway, it's a long rant. I'm sorry, and I'm slowly moving here with the nanomesh. I'm gonna go for another like 15 minutes, then, and we're gonna call it because it'll be 3 hours. Sorry. So what did I miss? Total novice 3D printing world. Cool. Welcome to the world. Welcome to the wide world of 3D printing. Fascinating stuff. I hope so. Mass production involves molding, so poly count doesn't play into it. Yeah, fascinating amount of engineering. Yep. Yeah, the engineering is in a whole other thing. If you have like a multi-joint part and all these other things, oh my god, that's a whole other team sometimes in China or in other countries that will take your product and then have to edit it in other ways that sometimes make it look worse, right? Because you might have a beautiful sculpture, but they want it to articulate with like shoulder movement or head movement or whatever. So then you got to create all these seams in there, and they may not like know how to hide them right. So they'll just be like really chunky or just really obvious, not hidden, not in logical breakpoints. Maybe because they logistically it can't, or maybe because they're just idiots and they don't know, like, oh, if you would have moved it 5 millimeters over this way or 2 inches or 10 feet over there, would have looked a lot better and still function the same. But you're an idiot, so oh well. That happens. I mean, there's so many other factors when it comes to engineering. That's a whole other machine. And again, one person can do all that. It's a hell of a lot of work. But I think the more, it's like with anything, like whether you're making a movie, whether you're making a game, you need to have one person who has that cohesive vision. The more you split up that vision, and you can delegate tasks to other people, of course, as any good director, whether film director, game, art, any kind of director is steering the ship, right? It should be, that's where the end all be all should be, if they have a good, clear vision of what they're working on. If they're gifted and they have a very clear vision of what they're working on and they're skilled, they know what they're doing, you'll have like a conductor of an orchestra. You'll have a beautiful synchronization of all the instruments working together. But if you have someone who's less experienced or just going to make some bad calls, you're going to see things start to, like, they're going to drop some of the balls. So there's that factor to think about. But usually, all that to say, you want as much of a singular vision to be seen through to the end. Of course, if that's the people funding it, the producers and whoever else, that they believe in this person wholeheartedly enough to trust their judgment, rather than to come in there and start, putting their fingerprints and their grubby hands all over everything just because they want to have their stamp on it, which is, it's like, get rid of your ego. Like, that's the worst. That's the worst always. I hate seeing that and it happens all the time. It's because they have the money, they have the power, so they're like, no, you're going to do what I want you to do in that story because I'm paid for it, so you got to do that. But, like, it's stupid. It's a terrible idea. I don't care if you have the money or not. It's a bad idea. It's objectively a bad idea, right? But, of course, they'll just fire you then if you give them enough resistance, because people have egos and people are immature mentally. It's like they could be 60 years old, but they might have the emotional maturity of like a 13-year-old when it comes to you pushing back a little bit and using reasoning instead of just ego as well. You're not coming back with ego. You're saying matter-of-factly, this is not a good idea. This is bad. This is better. Let's do what's better. Steve Jobs always had the true phrase of saying the best idea in the room has to win. It doesn't matter if it's coming from the intern or it's coming from a senior engineer. Usually someone with more experience has better ideas, but not always. Sometimes you're going to have a spark of genius or just a really brilliant idea that may be obvious, but all the experts who are maybe too caught up in their egos and their other maneuvers they're trying to do in a company or trying to prove something, they're too blinded by their own ambition that they're not looking at like what's better for the product, what's better for the whole, what's better for the consumer, what are people going to respond to better, rather than trying to say, like, I want people to see in my industry what kind of calls I made so that I can make a move in somewhere else. This is bullshit. The reality is the best idea has to win if you want something exceptional in the end, right? So typically, someone with a lot of vision and passion for a project, like a good director, should be the person who would be able to make some of those calls or most of those calls, and then you'll see it trickle down the line, right, when you have to delegate it. But again, so all that to say with an artist, if they're making articulated body parts or pieces or whatever, letting the artist, if they can do the engineering, that's the other thing, if they're competent enough to do it, let them, even if they're not competent enough to do the engineering, maybe they would know better than maybe an engineer, because they're the artist. There's always this war between artists and engineers. And they could work together. When they work together, it's synergy, right? But when they fight each other, it's just a mess. But when you have an artist, even if they can't do the engineering, but they direct it, they just say, well, why don't you try making a breakpoint here? Why don't you try doing this kind of joint instead of that? Why don't we try this approach instead of your approach? Or not you versus them, but just why don't we try this first? If that doesn't work, let's go to this. I think this might be a better step down rather than going full, 180 and just going the super safest route. It'd be time saving maybe, but it's not going to be, you're not going to maintain the closest to the original vision or quality that was initiated, right? So again, it's all about logical approaches and a kind of systematic evaluation down the line. And the more that it's maintained by the person who understands the origin or the pure core of something, right, whatever its intention is, the better the product is going to be in the end. So anyway, that's my opinion. I think it's all based in sound reasoning, though. So I think I'm right because there's factors that prove it, I think. But there's a lot of people who don't follow those rules at all, as I've been privy to, unfortunately. So anyway, sorry, I'm just talking and not finishing this up, but I hope this information is helpful for anyone out there. I mean, some of the practices I'm talking about, they're applicable for general business and overall, even if you're not an artist or even if you're not trying to break into a specific creative industry. These are just best practices for good business and for just, self-respect, just understanding what your worth is and then expecting it to be respected and put to good use. Produce pregnancy tests, and the plastic molds for those devices cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't imagine how much money it takes. See, but that's where 3D printing is really helping these companies now, where because the mold making process was much more manual, and now with 3D printing, certain molds and certain types of molds can be made extremely more cheap or more affordably with an even higher tolerance rate, meaning that your areas for divergence from where exactly a point should be in a shape is so fine or so on point compared to like the older methods that 3D printing is both more precise, faster, and a lot cheaper. So there's like all these pluses to 3D printing molds now and whatnot for when it can be done. Sometimes it can't be done with the 3D print, but it's innovation, sort of revamping some industries and undercutting them, but it's a better solution. It's a better way of doing it. Do I need to be a good drawer if I want the 3D model? No, but it really helps, and I think you need to learn how to any artist needs to learn how to observe accurately and then replicate it. So 2D drawing is huge for sure. It's not the mold, the whole assembly. Yeah, line. Might all several processes. Yep, more than one mold. Yep. It helps if you have artistic skills. Yeah. How do you swirl the stroke the other way? Oh, you just Dova. So the twist brush, it's super easy. You just do the opposite. You just go into the negative range. So you got twists on any brush. So here it's at 0 because there's no point in that. I don't want to even know if that'll mess up this brush. But let's say, let's show you here quick. So let's do it on his leg quick. This twist should be at 0, right? Because we're a standard brush. So now let's say we want to twist one way. We'll put it up to 1 something. Whoop. So now it's curling clockwise. The positive is clockwise. So now, obviously, you can go into the negative numerical count, and now you're going to see... Hello. Ah, it's crashing. All right, let's let it save. See, and it happens. Sorry, I'm going to take a bite quick as it resets. Okay. Obviously, go into the negative counterclockwise swirl. That's it. So brush, twist, any brush in general, just slider left or right, clockwise, counterclockwise. The harder the strength, the more severe and powerful the twist will be. It's giving me... Alright, so let me... Alright, and it's opening it again, off screen. Why? Okay, let's do this again. Move. Okay, dragging it over. And here we are. So weird. It's not opening it up on my other monitor. It's opening it off the monitor. So weird. Alright, quick save. Where were we? Since that was a crash, it doesn't do like a normal, I don't think it shows up like a normal quick save. It's more like recovered tool. Yeah. But it'll have that like it'll have that leg edit done to it, like these, and I won't be able to undo that. So I'm gonna go back to this one. Sorry about that, guys. So that's the swirl brush, twirl brush. So while it's opening, I'm just gonna finish up the chat here, and then I'm gonna bounce in like 10 minutes. Welcome to my past. Yep, look at reference. Yep, you guys in chat are nailing it. Paint can also ruin. Yeah, so many paint jobs ruin really great sculptures. It's really annoying. Because you can even see some of the mass-produced products aren't that bad, but the paint just, they do not capitalize on all the grooves, and they don't do washes correctly and all these other things that really make the sculpture pop. And that's, again, money. I think money and time are the biggest factors. And, you know, cheap labor won't be highly skilled, so you're not going to have amazing painters painting mass-produced products, you know, or if they have stamps doing that now too, like automated systems that do it. It's just, there's just not that much detail. What else? Finishing up here. Twist 70, twist negative, yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you, Daniel. Yep. You're welcome, guys. Live streamer, yeah, there you go. Ruiz. Oh, Ruiz. Combining, see, dyslexic coming together. Vasquez, excuse me. Yep. How do you break into sculpture and figures? I mean, there's always different ways of doing it. I wouldn't say there's like one set way to break into that industry. If you want to do that kind of work, I'm going to decimate this again quick. Actually, I might ZBrush it. Because I like this details in here. I might lose that. I'll just cut it up. I'll just do that now. So if you want to keep something like this is totally free form right now, but like if I wanted to hang on to this just at least as some good reference, I could duplicate it, excuse me, or I can just chop it up. There's so many different ways to do this, but yeah, actually maybe I'll do that instead of chopping it up into two parts. I'll duplicate it and then I'll hide that, and then I'll segment this off. Okay, Welcome's not. It's not liking me anymore. Oh wait, there. Come on. Oh, see, now it's, yeah. Frick. Come on. So I'm just gonna kind of slice it right through here, and let that make two groups. And delete hidden. Oh, sorry, that reminds me, I'm looking at my UI. Someone asked about how do you change color. I'll show you really quick. But you can also find that on YouTube pretty easily. Close holes. Sorry, it's shrunk my UI a little bit because I changed screen resolutions, and normally it would fill up the bottom, but I tightened up my resolution on this screen, so things are just a little different placement. So quick for whoever was asking about UI color, it's simple. You go to preferences, and then you got your eye colors, and then right here you can edit all your button colors and all your UI colors, everything. And the way you select those colors is you can use this to, you know, your color picker here to be whatever color you want. So you want like a nice blue, whatever, just go there. So that brings that color here. So then you go in here, and let's say you want all your buttons that are green to be blue. Click, hold, drag, and then let go. Now all those buttons that were green are now blue. Don't like that. instead of trying to find, let's say you have the color of a button in here already that you want to make that button that color, and you can do this with all of them. You can do this with all of them. Sorry, I'm not speaking clearly. Hold, drag right next door, boom, back to where it was. Super easy, super user friendly. So anyway, is that all? You can do it. Yes, I can until I say the wrong thing. I'm not politically correct. Also, I don't have a streaming setup. The streaming setup is super easy to do, man. That's not hard. Well, yeah, the whole politically correct thing. It's true, man. So many people get canceled for just saying anything that's not popular, and I'm always trying to be careful with that. But as you guys can tell, I'm not really someone who's a big fan of being super politically correct either. I'm not out to offend anybody either, though. I mean, it's always like, you know, I try to avoid all the super sensitive topics as much as possible because it's really, yeah, this isn't necessarily the best place for it, not appropriate, and it's just gonna do yourself more harm than good a lot of times. I mean, you can speak out on your own platform, but when you're with a company or you're representing them in some capacity, you obviously want to try to avoid needlessly stepping on people's toes or pissing off potential customers, essentially. Not wise. It's all about being diplomatic. You gotta pick your battles. You gotta be intelligent about where you say what and why. Is it really worth it? I mean, you know, you can choose your hill to die on, but a lot of times it's not wise to do it where you lose a valuable partner, business-wise. All right. So I was doing that because I want to decimate this. Actually, I want to ZBrush it. Sorry. It's because it'll give me quads and a more nicer arrangement, so then a little bit more predictable orientation for where the nanomesh will be grown from. So we want to come to ZBrush, ZBrusher, and take this down. Let's shoot for, what is this at? 54. It's kind of a lot. Don't really need that much, of course. It's all concentrated in these random areas too. So let's just leave it at 5. See what happens. Let it go. And all right, it's fine. Might subdivide up in like one more. Yeah, that's good. All right. And I was just thinking about a way to do this too, where it might work even better. So, all right, here's my thinking. Wait, did it save the nanomesh brushes? Hopefully, please, yes. No. Oh, are you serious? Wait. Okay, so all of this one, why is that there? What? Is that what I did? What? Oh no, that was the new one. Okay, so auto-saved. That's what it did. It auto-saved the new one. And it's not in here, right? No. Okay. Sorry, so it's always weird, kind of like when you have a quick save and you go back in history and you're not sure where certain things were when it auto-saved. So this is... I'll just delete this. I won't need this now. I'm not going to do that again. So we got these 3. It's fine. I'm going to choose one as like a hero one, kind of to be like a trailing chunk. It's a little bit bigger, and then all the ones will be kind of smaller. They'll be scattered up, and I'll make a strip and a trail for you guys so you can see how that works. Okay, so we got this. Come on, stay with me. Create nano. Create insert first. Derp. All right. Insert multi. Create nano. Yep. And come back to our pillars. Just good vibes. And I mean, there's a time and place for everything. I think honestly, when people, when it comes to this kind of thing, obviously probably don't really want to discuss much politics or religion, of course, but I think as a culture, I agree that I think that because everyone treats all those topics as so taboo everywhere, especially when they're in gatherings where it's a mixed group, it sort of just creates this like this taboo idea that these things should be so volatile when they can be, of course, because people are very passionate about these topics. But I think if you go in, if your opposing party to your belief system or your opinion or your approach to whatever subject it is, if your opposing party is as reasonable as you are, and meaning that they can put their emotions aside as best they can and have a civil discussion and have good debate or dialogue or discourse about X subject, then you can have a productive conversation. Even if you don't agree, I think it's healthy to agree to disagree. And that's fine. I think that's how people should operate. Any healthy adult should be able to say, I may not like what you're saying, but I still like you as a human being. I still respect you as a human being. We can agree to disagree and still be friends and still be cordial and civil and professional and so on and so forth. To me, that's a mature, emotionally mature, healthy human being. Now, when you want to just get enraged because someone disagrees with you, or even if they insult you, it's not validation for outrage and violence and harming them, or disagreement is not hatred. That's another thing. You may disagree with somebody or not even like what they have to say, but that's not the same as attacking them, to destroy them or to harm them or to wish them any ill will. It's simply disagreement or maybe even dislike, but it's not hatred. It's not like the wanting to destroy that person and their essence of who they are. And so I think that's an extremely important baseline level of maturity that I think a lot of people do not have, unfortunately, or they choose to just not embrace that way of living or thinking. And that's pretty dumb, I think, because it's like the child's phrase, sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Of course, words do hurt. Of course, you can say something that is very hurtful or mean towards somebody. So I think choosing to not deliberately offend somebody or not aiming to harm somebody's sensibilities is always a good place to start from. But at the same time, I don't think that, there's people who will find ways to be offended by anything, or certain things, and it becomes ridiculous. In my opinion, and in many other people's opinions. So that's where I draw the line and say, well, you can never please everybody. That's impossible, right? So there are kind of, some rather disturbed people out there who will find any opportunity they can to explode emotionally about whatever. It can be the most ridiculous thing, or it can be a very serious topic. But either way, personal opinion is simply that in certain times and places, I believe it's healthy and it's a good thing to have discussions with other people who may disagree with you, so long as you can both be on the same page as mature adults to say we will both agree to be civil with each other regardless of how much we disagree with each other. You may be vehemently against their point of view, but it doesn't mean you need to go and destroy each other, because what does that lead to? But not talking with each other, not talking about differences with other people, when they're obviously not clear black and white issues like do not murder, just don't kill somebody unjustly and let the system ordain execution if that's to happen at all. Going through the proper channels of law and order, so is the best way. So extremes that are very clear like that, I think, should be universally embraced, of course. But other topics which maybe have gray areas or seem to have legitimate arguments on both sides, I think it's healthy for discussion. I think that's where our culture really can find some sense of unity and healing, is understanding how to dialogue with each other. That's like the foundation, communication. So being able to efficiently communicate with people of differing views is crucial to a culturally mature, developing society, a truly progressive society, if you want to call it that, if you want to use that word. To truly progress, right, to truly grow and move forward in a positive way requires dialogue, requires discussion, requires thought, requires use of your brain and to use reasoning, sound logic, thinking, compassion, empathy. Requires all those other elements, I think, to find civility, right? And to establish new baselines for how people should interact with each other and how they treat each other outside of what is obviously clear, about how you treat human beings in loving ways as other human beings. So anyway, that's my super diplomatic way of saying I think that in the right place and time, differences of opinions can clash and yet still be civil and have their purpose, because it helps people understand where each other are coming from at the very base function. Anyway, we'll say that's true. Thank you. Thanks. I try. Okay, so we've got this strip now. So what I'm thinking of is like kind of like creating like a meteor sort of shower effect, sort of. So like a lead chunk, right? And then it's children. It's like the parent chunk and the child chunks. Parent-child relationship, for animators and riggers. So to have a trail of randomly dispersed particles here. So if I'm not mistaken, I think the way we can do this is mask, unmask. Excuse me. Now we come down to, I'm going to quick save here, so at least I save that progress in case anything goes wacky. Decides to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sorry, did I get my food in my mouth? All right, it's going to be the last thing, and then I'll try to see if I can do some of this during the week, so that next stream you guys will see more progress on this and have something more interesting to look at. Nanomesh. So we select spacebar. We select our poly group or polygon. We say polygroup island, and then we grow. Okay. All right. Undo that once. All right. I want to choose a different one, so they don't all look like little copies of this guy. And we grow this out. And all right, might be good, might not be, but this is a place to start from. So once you have this there, so the strip has grown out this same other little pebble. Sorry, I'm gonna have to like get off camera here just to look how close this stuff is so small on my screen. See, this is where a larger screen might help, but a larger Cintiq, but whatever. I probably just need to tweak my UI settings. So we got a whole bunch of factors here. I'll try to remember where the randomized distribution. Yeah, so this is where we got our random seed. And I think it might actually be, so like that alone right there is already kind of giving you, it's kind of giving me the result I want to do. It's not exactly that. I might want to do some larger bits here, of course, as it gets closer. But right there, that's giving me that exact kind of rain down, trickle down, descent of a meteor kind of look, right? Because you use the underlying geo to establish the form, and that'll be kind of, I'll use that underlying geo then as like the root point, so that everything will be Boolean together or Dynamesh together like that. So I'm going to do that on repeat, but then, you can even just do, I probably want to do a slightly wider band, because I feel like it's a little too thin. I kind of want to make it a little bit chunkier around here, but I could probably do that by hand, or at least by single insertion. So then I want to do insert nanomat. All right, so yeah, first of all, I want to make this, I'm going to make all these guys actual geo, right? So if I'm not mistaken, oh wait, random, I might want to increase that a little bit. I forget, how do we got our size. And then we got, what else? What is the count? So we got the random distribution. Random seed just sort of randomizes their placements within the boundaries. We got alignment. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Color, ratio, doesn't matter. UV, doesn't matter. Inventory. Yeah, this is where we make it all one mesh in inventory, right? But is there a way to do the count? Also, you got these other rotation elements here, so you can see how we can rotate them and move them on a different axis. So like we can embed them a little bit more here, which is probably what we want. That's something else that's important, so they Boolean together well. You got X rotation, kind of moves it on that axis, however that relates to their orientation here. So it's a little weird. And then you got your variability here on those each of those axes. What else? You can increase their width. Width is relative to them though, so width is like coming out to us like height. That's set at 1. Length is the other axis on those, and of course height is the other way. So you can do all that kind of stuff with Animesh, which is awesome. And you can fine tune all of that too, of course, and really get something exact for what you're looking for. I'm just looking if I can increase the numbers here at all. I guess that would just be the random seed then, right? Yeah. But I don't want to go too heavy with that either, because I want there to be a certain trickle-like effect. And you get too crazy with that, and then it just turns into a clump. So it's all about being judicial and exacting on how you choose your placement and number. All right, so yeah, it's good enough. So yeah, I think I'm probably just going to go in by hand then and then add some more. So now we want to say 1 to mesh. Is that where this is? 1 to mesh, yeah. Alt to brush. Replace nano mesh, delete. Yeah, so we want 1 to mesh. So now it's created right here. It's created actual geometry, right? And they're all one polygroup. I think they take the polygroup of the underlying strip, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Or do they have their own polygroup? They have their own polygroup. Okay, it's a similar color. All right, so then the simple thing here is to invert that reveal and then separate hidden, split hidden, excuse me. And then, all right, on solo. And where did they go? Here they are. Oop. So there's that. And I want this showing, and I want that hidden. Yeah, I forgot to separate this guy. Split hidden. There we go. So now I got a trailing piece of rubble. It's a bit big for dust, but I think I also want there to be a sense of power too, where it's almost like, so we might even have some pieces of the rock kind of like exploding off of the base a little bit, just kind of like, you know, like cracking and buckling upward. So I might do that somewhere down here as I will heavily edit more of this dust cloud that's just a amorphous blob right now. But yeah, so I'm just going to do what I did here, except just on the single basis. So let's say if I wanted to add some other, this is like an insert mesh brush at this point, really. I mean, that's all I would need to do. Where is the, I guess I just have to do the, wait, was it there? No, okay. Oh, no. There we go. I guess make a simple insert mesh brush. So that's a new brush, and we come back here. Oh, is that the right one? Yes, okay. Come back here and bring this guy down. Does this have to be dynamic? I forget. I don't think so. All right. And then we simply draw out some mesh. Now it's a little too above. I want it to be more inserted into the dust cloud so that it can Boolean together and not be like sticking out so much. So you can edit the way it insert mesh is drawn in your draw. Is that right? Which one is it? Oh, where's your depth? There's your brush. Where's the depth? Yeah, it's depth. So here we go. So here you can see this is like almost a great example. If it was a sphere, it'd be a perfect example. But you can think of this as a rock, as the circumference of the rock. So, you know, it doesn't have to be halfway, but like, I don't know, like at least a quarter of it inserted into whatever its underlying substrate or, you know, object is. So then here, now when I draw it out again, it won't be sticking out. It'll be sticking out more like this guy, like more halfway in. So there you go. And then I know they're all facing the same way right now, but I can edit that by hand a little later. But yeah, So then this allows you to add some of that randomness to it. And just add some bigger chunks here and there. And there you have it. So that's kind of what I was going for. Now I'm going to do a lot more of these. You can even take this as its own. You could group it together, all of those little bits together as one long trail, and then rotate it on its y-axis. Obviously, it would be diagonal, but then you rotate it, and suddenly you have a whole new set, because they're all in slightly different space three-dimensionally. So they're not just exactly flat. You know, they all vary a bit in their placement. And you can easily then, another cool trick, very easily, quick to do, excuse me, you can take your move topological brush, bring it down to a 1 if you want to be really fast with movement, and then you can just move the whole object like that. And that's really helpful if you just need to move it on a you know, a two-dimensional kind of axis. So to vary like depth very quickly, you know. So however you want that to do, however you want that to be. But then, yeah, I would just merge them all together as one, rotate them like 90 degrees or even 20 degrees, whatever. You don't even have to do full 90. And then paste, cut and paste, copy and paste. And then just use that and scatter it and then edit it a little bit like with the move brush like I did. And immediately you create many more random looking pillars, but of the same shape. You know, you can even vary scale of those two quickly. But this gives you a whole lot of playground to mix and match really quickly and still have it look organic and random. Even though you're using a rather systematic approach to then replicating that process to populate the area that you want to with that type of object, whatever it may be in your case. So yeah, so that's, I think, the right approach that I'm going to be going for with this, because that's what I saw in my head, and not the explosive rocket fuel that it was turning into. Anyway, so with that, I think we're going to close it. Coming in here on like 3.5 hours. Whew. Yeah. So a little progress. I mean, but I think I gave you guys some pretty good techniques for anyone who hasn't really done this type of kind of nano mesh, insert mesh. You know, hopefully gives you guys something to chew on and use in your own projects. So these are techniques that are pretty powerful. And there's a lot of other tools in nano mesh there that I didn't really need to use in this case, but they can easily be used to your advantage in your projects. I use them a lot on my Trico statue, Toriko. If you go to my site, for those who are new, who are still here, if you haven't been, Vasquez is like, night, Vasquez. So if you haven't been to my site, if you want to check out my work, please do. You can find me here. You can email me at Daniel at LionArts.com, and IG. I should just make a notepad with all this stuff and just copy and paste it every day. I don't know why I don't do that. It's because I'm busy with other stuff. I'm not thinking ahead, but I should. IG and no obligation, but if someone would like to throw a tip my way, I always put out now a digital tip jar, I guess you could call it. PayPal.me/Daniel LionArts. So there we go. That's it for this evening. Thank you so much for your attention, questions, laughter, banter, criticism, all of it. It's all helpful, useful. Yep, if you guys have any other burning questions that cannot wait until the next stream, which will be, I believe, this coming Sunday, if not the next, you feel free to email me. I'll try to get back to you as fast as I can. I can't promise. You can message me on Instagram too. I mean, it's almost like I see that almost faster because I'm on Instagram more frequently, and emails can sometimes get buried or misplaced into like a junk box or junky inbox. So yeah, there we go. Thanks a lot, guys. Exactly. Peace and love, flower power. Take care, and don't get the Rona.